Good morning, everyone, and welcome you to the April 1st, 2025 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners and April Fools.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks for coming in.
We're not really here, it's a hologram. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor Kendall if he would come forward and give us an invocation.
Our Father and our God, we thank you for creating us, for giving us laughter, for giving us good days, beautiful weather. Lord, I just pray that today that your presence would be upon this meeting and everything that takes place. I pray that you would be gracious and kind to us. I pray that your face would shine upon us. Lord, we just give you all the honor and the glory. We acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, and we pray these things in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you, Pastor Kendall. We appreciate you showing up last week. Last meeting, we had a no-show, so we really appreciate when you show up. And thank you. And Pastor Kendall comes to us from the Friendship Community Baptist Church in Dunkirk, the big car show, right?
That's Dunkirk Baptist.
Dunkirk, I'm sorry. Close.
Don't forget Pastor Cox was here last time.
Part-time.
Yeah, Pastor Cox had to fill in our last meeting. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented? Uh-oh.
So I move that we approve and adopt the agenda submitted but tabling consent item 6.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjust the agenda and remove item 6 under consent. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. A couple of public service announcements today. It is the month of the military child. April is known as the month of the military child, where we recognize the hardships and unique challenges they face. There are 1.6 million children who have parents serving in our armed forces. On average, military families move every 2 to 3 years, impacting children through changing schools, friends, and support networks. And we recognize and support the many children and military families who call our country home. And that is quite a challenge. I've known a few people with military families, and the kids, as we know, you move every couple of years. They don't build long-lasting friendships like most of us did because of our longevity here. But, it's quite a trauma for them. So we do need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Also, it's MMR vaccine awareness, and the Calvert County Health Department has asked us to share an important message due to the rise in measles cases in parts of the U.S. and the upcoming travel season. Measles is highly contagious, but the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella, offers strong protection and is safe and effective. If you're traveling internationally, make sure you and your family are up to date on all routine vaccines, including MMR. If you're unsure about your vaccination status or that of your children, please reach out to your healthcare provider. It also is Flood Awareness Month. Flooding is the most common natural hazard in Maryland, and it can happen in areas that aren't near bodies of water. Anywhere it can rain, it can flood. Residents and businesses are urged to prepare and take precautions to protect your property and reduce the impact of floods. Visit www.calvertcountymaryland.gov/beawareprepare to sign up for alerts and download the free Calvert Prepare app. And last but not least, it's time for our Animal of the Week. Another friendly fellow.
Good morning. My name's Brandy. I'm the Calvert County Animal Shelter Supervisor.
She's got energy.
And this here is Betty. She is about a year old. She came to us about a year ago at 9 weeks old. It was a litter of puppies. And she was adopted out into a good home. The gentleman had some health issues and had to surrender her back to us. She gets along very well with other dogs. She's had a lot of play dates at work with some of the other guys. A lot of energy. She does need some training.
Marty's not here. She doesn't know where to go.
I know. But she's like, where's he at? No, she's very good. She's very alert. I even had her in the yard today running out some energy, and I think she might want to chase some squirrels, so just, she was going at the gate, like, what's back there? She could hear stuff in the woods. But no, she's a great dog, very sweet. When she does get her energy out, she loves to just cuddle. She wants to just lay in your lap. We'll go in the big all-purpose room and let her play, and she'll just curl up with you. And
How much bigger will she get?
she's about a year old. She might just get more plump. Yeah, yeah. But like I said, she's got a lot of energy. I call her bowling ball Betty. But
See, she's looking for Marty.
but no, she knows some commands. She knows at least sit. She'll stay. Oh, and lay down. Oh, she's tired now.
Oh,
Energy's
that
out.
didn't take long.
Oh. Sit. There you go. So
And as
she is-
normal, no adoption fees if you
Yep.
adopt her before we have our next animal.
Yes. Yep.
How about the last animal you brought in? Did that one get adopted?
No,
out?
Nina's still there. Or no, was it? Yeah, it was Nina I brought the dog. Yeah, Nina's still there. So, and I think next week I'm gonna bring me a kitty cat. So another cat in a stroller.
Well, your shelter is the best. It's the best.
We really try.
Yes, everybody there, and I invite everybody, go there. It is not, if you have an impression of what you think the shelter is, change that, because when you go to Linda Kelly Shelter, you're gonna have a completely different opinion of what you think of shelters. It's just, it's
Pastor
first
Kendall,
class.
couldn't the church use a companion dog or a therapy dog? I mean, she seems like she really likes you.
There you
There you go. There you go.
All right, and yeah, come on down, or if you just want to get on the website, it's Calvert County Animal Shelter. And then, yeah, take volunteers, donations, and a nice bed for Betty. So
All
she
right,
can lay
so
down.
I'm going to do a public service announcement. I'm going to tell on myself. I should probably be ashamed of myself. So yesterday was warm, so and most of you know I have a yellow lab, so he's bumper crazy. So I got home yesterday and I'm throwing him bumpers. I didn't think I threw that many, but he started staggering and he started looking for shade, and I had overheated him
He was hot.
badly.
What were you throwing him?
Bumpers, just bumpers. And so had to get him back to the house, took a water hose, hosed him down, gave him plenty of cold water, and he was fine, but I had no idea. But he's just not used to this heat this quickly.
Yeah.
And those
Still got his winter coat and
still got his winter coat, and he was staggering around.
They get hot pretty quick.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a warning to everybody else, just you gotta condition your dogs into the heat, and it was a warning for me.
Make
So,
sure that they always have
You
water,
were back in
access to
speaking
water
terms
if
this
they're
morning, though,
outside. And shade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was fine. My wife, who says she doesn't like the dog, but cares greatly about the dog. So, anyway, just fair warning for everybody that have active dogs. Condition them into the heat, so. All right, well, we hope that she's no longer in the shelter this time
finds a
next
family.
week, and she has a great family. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. Commissioner Grasso, and I know we have some reps in the audience.
Want to come up, introduce yourself, say a few words?
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning,
morning.
Commissioner Grasso.
Good morning.
My name's Chris Fenimore. I'm a Calvert County employee, but I'm here today as a parent of a child with autism. He's not so much a child anymore.
No, not at all.
Thank you for the time on your agenda today for this proclamation. This is the 13th year in a row that we've done this. Autism spectrum disorder refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. Autism is often accompanied by sensory and medical issues such as gastrointestinal disorders, seizures, sleep disorders, as well as mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, attention issues, just to name a few. According to the CDC, autism affects an estimated 1 in 36 individuals in the United States today. Diagnosis can be difficult since it's not a medical test. Doctors do screenings, look for child's behavior and development to make a diagnosis. If you've met an individual with autism, you've met one individual with autism. Some are able to self-advocate, others are not, others are nonverbal, and then there's everything in between. Early screening and intervention is so important. If you think your son or daughter may be delayed or their development showing signs of autism, or if you have any other concerns, talk to your pediatrician, talk to your daycare, talk to your school, talk to another autism parent or any parent. Learn the signs. You can go to cdc.gov. There are several other autism resources that are here in Calvert. I can tell you, I'm doing this without glasses, so that's why I'm struggling. I can tell you as a parent, the screening process takes time. Getting an appointment takes time. It's intimidating, and it's a learning process. He's 19, and we were doing this when he was 2, 3, 4 years old, so it's been a while. Things have changed. If you're a parent and you're intimidated, you're not alone. It can be isolating. It can be scary. Just know, go online, search up Pathfinders for Autism, do your research, make an appointment, talk to your pediatrician. These are all things that I can give you from my own experiences. The most important thing is to take that first step and seek help. Like I said, there are several resources in Calvert for folks that don't know if their child is developmentally delayed or if they know they have autism. Every lifespan is affected. It doesn't go away. Calvert County Public Schools is a great resource. They have infants and toddlers, child find, and individual education plans. We were so thankful to have what's called an IEP for NJ starting at age 3 in the school system through his senior year last year. It allowed him to be able to navigate classes, the schools. He graduated 67th in his class from Calvert High School, which is pretty impressive for anybody, let alone someone with a developmental disability.
You don't want to know where I came in.
68th, right?
360.
I would have loved to have that 67.
Another
only
great
68.
resource that we have in this county is Calvert County Parks and Recreation. They have great therapeutic services, but any of their offerings. You don't have to have autism, or you don't have to do therapeutic services, swimming classes. We did both. And Calvert County Sheriff's Office also has some great resources. I've talked Sheriff Cox into saying a few words about that because he'll speak better than I can. The ARC of Southern Maryland. CCAC, which stands for the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, and that is through the school system, and they have some great resources and advocate for parents. Folks with autism are smart, they're coachable, they're employable, they can be independent with the right services in place. Since we saw you last year, this young man, my son NJ, has gotten a driver's license. He's graduated from high school, and he is now a Calvert County Parks and Recreation employee. Of course, at the golf course. Another plug is so the hiring process can be intimidating for anybody, especially with someone who may struggle in one area or another. I encourage all human resources departments, including our own, to look at hiring processes to see how we can improve and include folks that may struggle with, interviews, the online application process, and everywhere in between. There's a few folks behind me that are going to say a few words, and then Commissioner Grasso.
Well, come on up, NJ and Christine.
Thank
Did
you.
you want to say something, NJ?
Your mom
He
left
sounded
the
good.
golf out. I thought you would say something about golf.
Try every year to ask.
Good morning. I'm Joy Weir from Therapeutic Recreation Services, Calvert County Parks and Recreation. As Christine mentioned, we do a lot of services for individuals from birth to 99 of programs to encourage those skills that they need to work on. The biggest thing is social skills that we do with them. But we work on those sensory skills, the speech delays, the fine motor, gross motor skills, and as Christine also said, just our regular recreation programs, we also help with that inclusion into those programs, whether it be sports or the golf course. making those accommodations for anyone with a disability to fully participate and enjoy their recreational and leisure lifestyle.
Thank you. Come on up. Anybody else?
Good morning. My name is Ashton Felton. I'm the new chair for Calvert CCAC, the Special Education Citizen Advisory Committee. Happy to stand with you all today in this proclamation. I'm thankful to you, Mrs. Spinamore, this body, for making sure that this is an intentional time for all those in Calvert County who are touched by the autism community. For those of you that don't know, Calvert CCAC is a committee as part of Calvert County Public Schools. We're comprised of families with students and young adults in the district that have received special needs services and special education supports. We are also comprised of CCPS leadership and their staff, as well as local leaders and community resource partners. We do strive to bridge the gaps in communication between families and the school system, facilitate meaningful conversations with outside resources, and surrounding staffing, services, and support. We also provide knowledge and resources to families that may need. We recognize that autism awareness is not confined to one day or 1 month. For a lot of us, it's 24/7, 365, including myself. My eldest daughter is autistic, and just as you said, when you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. No two autistic people are the same, just as no two neurotypical persons are ever the same. That is why it is so profoundly important to foster a culture of inclusivity, understanding, and support that span a wide range of services in our county. Temple Grandin once said that the world needs different minds to work together, and that couldn't be truer today. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
Come
you.
on up.
Morning, Commissioner. Sheriff
Morning.
Cox. Thank you for doing this proclamation on Autism Awareness Month, but the Sheriff's Office has the patches made up. I'll be wearing this for the month of April for Autism Awareness Month. You guys can purchase those at the Sheriff's Office. Those funds will be used for our torch run coming up in September. If you guys would like to stop by the Sheriff's Office and grab one, but moving forward with this, we have training with the deputies dealing with people with autism that if they're involved in a traffic stop with a deputy on how to react, so we have that coming up as well. As long as with deputy too, having the training too, to how dealing with somebody with autism, and it's been great so far, having that training moving forward. So we just want to appreciate the support and having that awareness. Our community is the best out there. I'm not biased or anything, but we all seem to come together and support everyone here. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. In another life, I used to work in the livestock industry, and I've met Temple Grandin. She's an amazing woman. Her movie is absolutely fantastic. Christine, I tell you, for any parent out there who is struggling, you gave them a wealth of information, and from a parent's perspective, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And Jay, congratulations. You got a job, you're driving, that's wonderful. And to graduate, as Commissioner Hart said, in 67th in your class. I don't know where I was, but it wasn't 67.
You see what's going on. You see this? Yeah.
Okay, let me read the proclamation. Whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, or autism is the fastest growing serious developmental disability resulting from a neurological disorder, hindering a person's ability to communicate, respond to surroundings, effectively problem solve, and form relationships with others. And that broad sentence is not indicative of every individual with autism, is it? I mean, there may be some of those ability to communicate. A lot of autistic individuals are communicative.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Autism is referred to as a spectrum disorder because it is characterized in varying degrees by difficulties in social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, medical conditions, as well as restrictive and repetitive behaviors. Autism can be associated with intellectual disability, difficulties in motor coordination and attention, and issues with mental and medical health. And whereas autism affects about 1 in 36 children and individuals, regardless of race, creed, socioeconomic status, and not only affects the person with the disorder, but also their families, friends, schools, and local communities. And whereas we recognize all the individuals and organizations in Calvert County that provide early intervention, outreach services, education, and advocacy, and the important contributions they have made to our local community, families, and individuals affected by autism. And I have to say, Calvert County is stellar with the resources that they offer, most definitely. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that April 2025 be known as Autism Awareness Month in Calvert County. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners commends all those committed to providing early intervention, outreach, education, advocacy, scientific research, and services to all citizens, including those with developmental disabilities such as autism. We urge all citizens to join us in increasing their acceptance and understanding of autism spectrum disorders, given under our hands and sealed this day, the 1st of April, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Yeah. We'll get back to you, the whole-
Three, two, one. There's my heart.
Last time she hit me.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
There you go. At least now you can play every day, right?
Right. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Sir, always great seeing you. Make sure you tell Deb I said hey.
Probably.
Hopefully. Thank you, Art. Way back. Thank you so much. Yeah, great day.
One last word, Commissioner Hans, if I may. I just want to thank all of the rock stars in the classrooms that can't be here today, our teachers, our daycare providers. They're the ones that really helped me in the very beginning and, throughout his school career. So we want to thank our teachers. They make a huge difference. I forgot to tell everyone, he's also in college. He goes to College of Southern Maryland, and he is on the golf team, and they are playing at Swan Point this Thursday, so say a little prayer.
Good job, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Commissioners.
Absolutely, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is appointments. Miss Emily?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist, here with a round of appointments this morning. But first and foremost, this morning looks a little bit different because I do have a memo for the Compensation Review Board, if I may proceed with reading. Thank you. Background. The Calvert County Compensation Review Board convenes every 4 years to perform the following duties by December 1st, 2025, as set forth by Section 9-405 of the Public Local Laws of Calvert County. 1. Review the salaries set by law for Calvert County officials. 2. Review the state and local laws and the procedures following in Calvert County concerning the inclusion of benefits as part of the compensation of the county commissioners. 3. Make recommendations to the county commissioners concerning the compensation set by law for county officials. And 4. Make a special recommendation concerning the inclusion of benefits as part of the compensation of county commissioners. The Calvert County officials include the county treasurer, county sheriff, the judge of the orphans court, county commissioners, and state's attorney, and the Board of Education. Discussion. Section 9-405 of the Public Local Laws of Calvert County indicates that the Compensation Review Board will consist of 7 members, whom 1, 2 shall be appointed by the county commissioners, 2, 1 shall be appointed by the legislative delegation from the 29th Legislative District, 3, 1 shall be appointed by the Calvert County Democratic Central Committee, 4, 1 shall be appointed by the Calvert County Republican Central Committee, 5, 1 shall be appointed by the Calvert County Chamber of Commerce, 6, 1 shall be appointed by the Calvert County Economic Development Commission. At least 1 member of the board shall have been a member of the previous board. At this time, all agencies have submitted their appointments with the previous board appointee requirement not met. Fiscal impact. Potential salary increases and/or reductions will be determined by the Board of County Commissioners pending legislative approval based on the final recommendation of the Compensation Review Board. Conclusion recommendation. It is requested that the Board of County Commissioners appoint the final 2 members, ensuring to fulfill the requirement to appoint a previous member. And with that, we have staff recommendations for these 2 Board of County Commissioners appointed members. Staff recommends that you appoint David Cox and Randy Smith as the board appointees to the Compensation Review Board. Following this, there will be no vacancies, and all the other appointees have been identified by their appointing agencies.
Thank you.
I move that we appoint David Cox and Randy Smith as board appointees to the 2025 Compensation Review Board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Yes. Did we discuss this in executive session last week?
We did.
Okay, this isn't too familiar to me, but,
Sorry.
okay, very good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. The second appointment is for the Commission for Veteran and Military Families. Staff recommends that you appoint Dr. Brandon Temple as the at-large member, Wesley Mumper as the American Legion Post 274 member, and Rebecca Richard as the educator/administrator member to the Commission for Veterans and Military Families. And following this appointment, 2 vacancies will remain.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Third appointment is for the Calvert County Commission for Women. Staff recommends that you reappoint Joan Winship to the Calvert County Commission for Women, and following this appointment, there will be 5 vacancies.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Last appointment is for the Calvert County Planning Commission. Staff recommends that you appoint David Burry to the Calvert County Planning Commission, and following this action, there will be no vacancies.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emily.
Thank you.
So just a little bit of discussion. If you weren't aware, the Compensation Review Board is appointed every year before an election, reviews salaries of those elected officials to make determinations and recommendations on what those salaries should be. And we don't get to do that ourselves, just for the record. And as you heard, you know, we do talk through applicants and appointments at a prior meeting to the public discussion, just to get a feel and make sure we have qualified applicants that the 5 of us are comfortable with. So that discussion did occur at our last meeting in exec session. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent. We have 5 items under consent today. Item 1, Department of Community Resources, Resource Hub, 87 Main Street, Prince Frederick, grant agreement. Item 2, Department of Finance and Budget Service Charge for semi-annual real property tax billing for fiscal year 2026. Item 3, Department of Parks and Recreation Budget Amendment for the Edward T. Aquatic Hall Center HVAC repairs. Item 4, Department of Public Safety grant application for the Maryland 911 Board funding. Request promotional items. Item 5, Department of Public Safety grant application for the Maryland 911 Board funding request at Datamark GIS Services. Is there any objection to those items listed under consent today?
Have none. I move that we adopt and approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And again, as I do once in a while, consent items are listed. We adopted that policy probably 6 or 7 years ago. In the old days, we'd have a full presentation on each one of these items. They're fairly routine items. They've been reviewed by our attorney and staff for proficiency. We get those ahead of time. If any commissioner has an objection to an item under consent for whatever reason, we would pull, as we did today. We pulled an item off because the commissioner had a question that he wanted more information on. So, but it just helps speed up our process. And as I say, just if any commissioner has an issue, we pull those off for future discussion. So, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Well, actually, there are two public hearings today. The first one is Department of Finance and Budget Fiscal Year 2025 Correction to the Appropriation. And just for the record, our Director Miller this morning had a little medical issue and had to leave, so we hope that he's doing okay. So, Caleb?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I am Caleb Brannon. I'm the Acting Deputy Director of Accounting. And in addition to Mr. Miller not being here, our Deputy Director of Budget is also not feeling well, so I want to send up some good thoughts for her. She is in the hospital as well for a back injury, so. There are two public hearings scheduled for today. All hearings were duly advertised, and the certificate of publication is made part of the record of each hearing. Citizens were invited to provide comment on any or all of the hearings after each presentation has concluded. Each of the two hearings may have a separate comment period following the brief presentation. Anyone here in person must sign in on the sheet next to the attorney to speak. So for our fiscal year 2025 correction to the appropriation, the President of the Board of County Commissioners was advised by the Superintendent of Calvert County Public Schools on June 12, 2024, that based upon the adoption of Resolution 24-10, teachers and support staff would have to be laid off due to the budget deficit. The BOCC decided to conduct an emergency meeting on the evening of June 12, 2024, to consider the superintendent's position and did pass a motion for staff to increase the allocation of funding for Calvert County Public Schools. The Board of Calvert County Commissioners desires to allocate additional financial resources for the Board of Education for use by Calvert County Public Schools. For the fiscal impact, the Department of Finance and Budget has recommended that the BOCC allocate a total of $12,469,199 to the Board of Education for use by Calvert County Public Schools. This includes roughly $8 million from prior year fund balance, $1.5 million from the OPEB BOE contribution, and approximately $2.9 million from additional funds. Our recommendation is the Department of Finance and Budget requests the BOCC to hold a public hearing, accept public comments, and move to close the record. Then approve and adopt the resolution enacting Budget Amendment 2025-00356 to the allocation of funding for Calvert County Public Schools as set forth in the budget amendment. We will now take public comment. The floor has been open for public comment on this hearing. Resolution 6.
There's no one who signed up and there's nobody online.
Excellent. And we have no speakers.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard, last year we had an emergency meeting June 12th, which is actually after we've sort of finalized our budget. And there was an oversight that additional item that we added to the budget was not included in the final budget that was adopted last year. So today's action is to legalize our budget last year and the action that we took. So, is there any discussion or questions?
No discussions. Have a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move that we close the record and approve and adopt the resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-000356 allocating the funding of Calvert County Public Schools as set forth in the budget amendment.
Second.
A motion and a second that we close the record, approve and adopt the resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-000356, allocating of funding for Calvert County Public Schools as set forth in the budget amendment. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second public hearing today is Department of Public Safety Emergency Communications request for additional staffing positions. Morning.
Morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Crystal Dowd, Deputy Director of Public Safety. I'm here with Emergency Communications Division Chief Stanley Harris. He's going to read the memo.
So in 2023, Emergency Communications engaged mission-critical partners to conduct a workforce optimization study aimed at providing a comprehensive assessment of the communications center. This study was requested in part to evaluate and provide recommendations for ongoing recruitment and retention challenges in emergency communications. The workforce optimization study analyzed 9 critical areas, one of which focused on personnel, workforce, and staffing. The report identified that the current authorized staffing level, 28 telecommunicators and 4 supervisors, is insufficient to meet the expected workload. To address this, the report recommended increasing the authorized full-time equivalents by 8, 4 public safety call takers and 4 dispatcher ones. The Department of Public Safety Emergency Communications Division, in conjunction with the Department of Finance and Budget, have identified the cost of the positions could be offset by the fees collected from the Maryland 911 surcharge. The fiscal impact of adding the additional 8 FTEs annually is $798,592. To expedite the hiring of the additional FTEs, the remainder of FY 2025, BA 2025-318 increases the state 911 grant revenue by $219,494. The increase in the revenue allows for an increase of salaries by $162,132, overtime by $26,258, and night differential by $31,104. Staff requests the Board of County Commissioners conduct a public hearing and, if deemed appropriate, based on the record, approve and adopt the proposed resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-318 to add 4 public safety call taker positions and 4 dispatcher 1 positions with an associated cost of $798,592 annually. To speak on the 911 surcharge, to give a little background, in FY 2024, the Calvert County portion of the 911 surcharge was 75 cents per eligible subscriber. Calvert County collected $1,051,150 in FY '24. We've only received the disbursement for Q1 in FY '25. But with that, we've collected it for Q1, $610,318.69. That money will fluctuate a little bit higher or lower over the next 3 quarters, but we estimate that FY '25 will collect $2,441,274. $274.76. So that is a delta between the 2 years, fiscal years of $1,390,124.76. So that's where that money is coming from with that delta. That money that's collected can only be spent on eligible 911 expenses. So that is why this is being allocated for the staffing, because that is one of the eligible expenses.
How you doing on staffing right now? I know that's been a challenge.
So 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we had 13 vacancies. We only have 2 vacancies now, 1 dispatcher, 1 call taker. We have a pipeline of 15 applicants that we're gonna interview over the next couple weeks. So we're hoping we'll be able to fill those 2 vacancies and some of these positions if it's approved today.
The job is so difficult. I mean, it's, why do you think, the uptick in, people applying? It was tough for so long.
Advertising, working with CMR.
The advertising's done a lot.
Your retention's a lot better too, isn't it?
Yes, retention's a lot better. And, one thing that was identified in the staffing study, our retention rate out of training is 80%. The national average is around 70. So, we're doing things right in the training and getting people to stay here.
Good.
So Stanley, can you verify for the people listening today, what's the difference between a call taker and a dispatcher one?
So a call taker, their primary function is to answer 911. That they answer the phone, that's pretty much what they do all day long. They answer 911, answer non-emergency calls as well. A dispatcher does that plus dispatches police, fire, and EMS. So they would be the dispatcher on the other end of the line or the radio when the police or the fire department got on the scene.
Thank you.
Have you been able to streamline the hiring procedures that you have? I know that was holding you up at one point with background checks and so on and so forth.
We have gotten a lot faster with getting them through the process. Workday has made it a lot faster for us. You know, it is
Good.
streamlined through HR, so that is a shameless plug for Workday. You know, it has made the hiring process faster for us.
Good.
Begrudgingly.
Thank you.
And nobody from HR paid you to say that.
No.
I knew I
No need
wasn't
to
gonna
not
say
pay me to say
anything.
that, no. But no, it really has streamlined the process. You know, we're not having to do everything by email or back and forth with paper. As soon as it's put in Workday, you know, they're able to move through a lot faster with the hiring and the recruiting aspect of it.
Very good. There any speakers? No, sir. Didn't want to make sure we forgot that. And look, just people have heard me recently talk about how serious our budget issue is and why would we be entertaining adding additional staff today. I think I've alluded to in the past, there are certain positions we are going to have to hire, as bad as our budget is. And 911 call takers and dispatchers are some of those positions you have to have. When somebody
Absolutely.
picks up the phone for an emergency, somebody's got to take that call, dispatch. You're going to see in the budget, there's going to be a request for more EMS providers. We're going to have to do that. As bad as our budget is, we have to do that. So I'm trying to cut off some comments that I'm going to get about why are you hiring more people. And, you know, in today's process is just that we've identified a funding source to cover these expenses. So we have to do a budget adjustment to accomplish that. It's not because of any faulty budgeting that we did last year. We just, with any budget, it's flex. It's a flexible item that you adopt it, but you know it's going to change as things arise. And we've encouraged staff, and staff's done a very good job of finding the necessary funds when these type of situations come up. So we applaud them for that. Thank them for all that work.
And Commissioner Hance, I will say,
Great.
Go ahead.
you know, I'm very proud of our public safety system. Other counties you go to, you call 911, you get a recording, and please stand in line, we're busy. So, you know, these positions are able to allow Calvert County to continue to answer the phone. When you call 911, you get a call taker or a dispatcher answering that phone as soon as you call.
I was gonna say, you don't take it for granted, like you say, going back, you had 13 openings.
Right.
I mean, that's,
There is one email that did come in that is made part of the record of this public hearing, but there are still no callers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which we tried to address.
Ready for motion?
Yes, sir.
I move to close the record and approve and adopt the resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-318 to add 4 public safety call taker positions and 4 dispatcher 1 positions.
Second.
A motion and a second that we close the record and approve and adopt the resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-000318 to add 4 public safety call taker positions and 4 dispatcher 1 positions. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a presentation, Department of Economic Development, College of Southern Maryland, Annual State of College Update.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Julie Ober, Director of Economic Development here for Calvert County, and I'm very pleased to present to you today Dr. Yolanda Wilson and her team from the College of Southern Maryland to come up and present. Yes, thank you very much for pulling up the PowerPoint. And Dr. Wilson, if you'd like to come up and have a seat at the table and introduce your team. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good to see you, good to see you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone is doing well this morning. It's so good to see all of you. Thank you for this opportunity. So again, good morning to you. I'm so honored to be with you this morning to share the College of Southern Maryland's annual State of the College and to talk about the vital role that community colleges play, particularly your team here at the College of Southern Maryland, in building a strong regional workforce and the importance of connecting the dots between education, industry, and community needs in Southern Maryland. Joining me today are trustees Pamela Cousins and Celeste Alexander Fry, as well as one of our CSM Hawk alumni, Brianna Garcia, to my left, whom you'll hear more from in just a few moments. And in the audience, our Vice President of Finance, Judy Mills, and Assistant Vice President of Government Relations, Karen Smith Hupp. You know, at CSM, we are steadfast in our commitment to addressing the evolving needs of employers for an educated and skilled workforce. We are dedicated to strengthening Southern Maryland's labor market by building a robust pipeline of trained professionals to meet those demands. Let me start by sharing just a few points of distinction about your community college, which opened its doors in 1958. And specifically here in Calvert County 45 years ago. So we're a proud member of the Achieving the Dream Network. That's a network of over 300 community colleges that seek to improve the post-secondary outcomes for our most vulnerable populations. We rank as the 57th best overall community college out of 653 nationwide, according to Wallet Hub. And in a recent state-by-state analysis by Wallet Hub, Maryland's community colleges overall were recognized as the best in the U.S. During fiscal year '24, CSM awarded 753 associate degrees and 555 certificates. That included 244 recipients right here from Calvert County. And over the last 3 fiscal years, 24.4% of our degree recipients have been Calvert County residents. To put those degrees and certificates into an economic perspective, I turn to the last economic impact analysis report that was conducted by the Maryland Association of Community Colleges. We call them MAC. This was performed pre-pandemic in 2018-19 and published in 2021. According to that report, the total annual impact of Maryland's community colleges resulted in $8.7 billion in added income, or the equivalent of 113,805 jobs supported. Maryland Community College alumni supported 88,793 jobs, and the impact of daily spending of Maryland Community College students attracted to or retained in our state equaled $294.4 million. As you may be aware, we launched our 5-year strategic plan last September, and it reflects our intention to move forward with our students and our partners around 3 core pillars: access, momentum, and mobility. So before we look forward, I'd like to take this opportunity to look back at the wonderful advances that CSM has made in this past year that's reflected in our State of the College video. Oops. Let's see it real quick. Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Don't worry, Katie will get him straightened out. Or she'll fire him, one or the other.
It is not linking. I know.
While they're doing that, I wanted to ask you a question, if I may.
Of course.
So years and years ago, and I was sitting here trying to think of the director's name at the time, but we had discussed about 4-year programs at your school, and there was a big pushback from the state of Maryland back then. I know
And
a lot.
still today.
Okay, that was my question, because I know some of the names have changed,
Still today.
but I didn't, I thought there was a lot of programs that you guys could easily do, take the teaching program. Be so nice, somebody comes, you already work with the high schools very well with that teaching program to start there. If you could finish the 4-year there, I know there's a master's requirement on the backside, but at least have your 4-year right there, schooling. And I take it.
Love the question, Commissioner.
Yeah,
Love the question. So we have nationally 24 states that offer what we call applied baccalaureate degrees. Okay, so those are the bachelor's degrees that you don't customarily find at the university setting, right? So it might be a bachelor's in nursing, for example. It could be a teacher bachelor's degree, or it could be a bachelor's degree in some other kind of applied field. We have broached that topic with the University of Maryland system as a collective, Maryland Association of Community College Presidents as a collective. And they see that maybe as a little bit of mission creep on what their turf is. And we have tried to distinguish a couple of things. One, if it's applied baccalaureate, then it shouldn't encroach directly on your mission. But also, two, in certain regions and parts of the state, you don't have a 4-year, or you have few 4-year university offerings, and this expands those opportunities for students where transportation may be a barrier, or they don't want to do online instruction. And so we'd be happy to offer those opportunities. I serve on a statewide task force now around transfer that has University of Maryland system representatives, has community college presidents, has MHEC, Maryland Higher Education Commission on there, a couple of other agencies, and we've broached the topic again. That perspective, as well as making sure that all the credits that students take in their associates fully transfer. And there are some sticking points.
Yeah, and I get they're feeling threatened. I get that. Nobody's trying to replace College Park. But my understanding is it's difficult for the Maryland children to get in there anyway, that there's not, because, let's be honest, there's a lot more money outside, right? I mean, it's appearance. And I'm not talking all programs, like we're all of a sudden become a 4-year school, but there are some direct link to occupations. And you bring up a thing, too. Getting to College Park's not easy. If you're at the other rural counties, you're not commuting.
Right.
So now where do you stay?
Absolutely.
That's not cheap. I mean, so I didn't know what the harm was. I know, and I know it's always finances for them, but I mean, come on.
So Commissioner Hart, I spent 7 years on the Board of Regents at the university system in Maryland, and they will never, I don't care who dies, they will never allow the community colleges to do 4-year degrees. In fact, they fight amongst themselves over course offerings because one university doesn't want to give up a course offering to anybody else, and it's all about student numbers and dollars that are associated with those student numbers.
And you're spot on, and unfortunately, who gets left out is the community that needs it.
The students.
The students get hurt in this, and big picture of it anyway is, isn't it all state money at the end of the day? Yes, there's a lot of private contribution, but isn't there a whole lot of state money going to all of these? So, I mean, and you're spot. I mean, I know there's been a lot of changes, but I didn't know if the mindset had changed any.
No,
That culture's never going to change.
Not as of yet. Let me just say that. And to your excellent point about the teacher pathways, we have looked at that, had numerous conversations with our superintendents around creating a teacher pathway pipeline because we know there's such a huge need for that in our Southern Maryland region. We just inked out an articulation with St. Mary's County to start that initial pipeline, and then we're going to expand it out because Calvert and Charles have the early college. St. Mary's has been doing dual only, so this is an opportunity for them to expand kind of their services.
And the College of Southern Maryland.
There we go.
Perfect.
Maryland. Fostering a student-centered culture is a journey that we embark on collectively every day with members of our communities. With that student-ready mindset, CSM launched our 2024-2029 strategic plan entitled Built for Success, moving forward collectively with many stakeholders to highlight the importance of collaborative visioning to build success together for our students, for our employees, and for the Southern Maryland region. Our strategic plan aligns our core pillars of access, momentum, and mobility each representing our commitment to expanding educational opportunities and entry points, retaining students while they are learning with us by providing needed resources and services, and enhancing students' overall success so that they can live, train, and remain in Southern Maryland and contribute to our vibrant communities. In this State of the College video, our students and partners share what a student-first culture really means.
My family and I first learned of the College of Southern Maryland when I was in 5th grade, when my Windy Hill Elementary School class went to a field trip to the Prince Frederick campus to attend a program called Destination College. We went into these cool labs and did neat science experiments and projects. I went home that night and I told my parents I was planning to attend CSM and I was going to be an engineer. In high school, I took engineer-related classes and then found out I could attend CSM my senior year at Northern through early college. I graduated from CSM with a transfer certificate before I graduated from Northern High School with my diploma in spring 2024. I can't say enough about the support I received and continue to receive from CSM. I have earned multiple scholarships, including a scholarship from the CSM's Senator Mike Miller Center for Leadership when I am enrolled in the Leadership Academy. I also have received a ton of support from the Learning Resource Center and from Disability Support Services. In fact, because of the support I received from CSM's Disability Support Services, I've changed my major. I realized that a career in engineering wouldn't be as rewarding to me as I originally thought. Having been in physical therapy since the 5th grade for a variety of connective tissue disorders, I know there's a need for therapists, so I changed my major to physical therapy. As a therapist, I can give back to Calvert County like CSM and all my years of therapy gave to me.
Ava's story and her desire to give back embody the spirit of every Senator Thomas V. Mike Miller Center for Leadership Scholar at the College of Southern Maryland. The students who participate in the leadership programming named after my father learn about servant leadership, giving back, and civic engagement. Most importantly, they learn that everyone you meet deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. And that is what the College of Southern Maryland does. College of Southern Maryland embraces this community. It provides everyone affordable access to an education or a trade or elevated leadership skills, no matter their background. CSM, like the Miller family, believes that education is the key to success, that education is the great equalizer. Consider College of Southern Maryland to be that wise choice and that one constant friend who will always lead you to success.
CSM is close to my heart, and I've known that I wanted to become an engineer since 9th grade, and CSM was always my first choice. I am one of 7 children and the only boy, and I knew how great CSM was for my sister's successes, as most of my family has attended or graduated from CSM. Receiving the CSM Foundation scholarships and the Waldorf JC scholarships made college even more accessible for me. I received incredible support from the Math Resource Center and the pre-engineering coordinator, Janelle Linkins. She looked after me every day. I became one of 14 people to charter the nation's newest National Society of Black Engineers chapter. I also joined a variety of other clubs and volunteered in the community. I was honored to participate in the Student Advocacy Day in Annapolis to speak directly to elected officials about the importance of funding community colleges. I also experienced the worst time of my life. During the global pandemic, my life completely changed in the span of 2 weeks when both my father and grandmother died of COVID-19. I experienced deep emotional pain and grief, and I had a difficult time coming out of it. But my professors and fellow CSM students checked in on me, surrounded me with counseling and support, and got me motivated to get up, keep moving, and finish my education. The community is a family, and without that family, I don't think I would have been able to overcome those challenges. I was accepted to participate in the CSM entry program in partnerships with the University of Maryland. The program allowed me to take engineering classes at CSM and automatically transfer to attend the University of Maryland A. James Clark School of Engineering at the University of Systems of Maryland, Southern Maryland, where I was offered an internship at the Patuxent River Naval Air Station. I graduated from CSM, and today Just 3 years later, I'm extremely proud to share that the internship has led to a full-time job. I am now a mechanical engineer working at Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, where we develop essential, integrated, and interoperable resources and products for our nation's warfighters. And just like my family at home, I became a lifelong learner. This semester, I've entered Nanoscale Energy and Interspatial Transport Lab as a master's student to further my education in microelectronics that will impact data centers, power electronics, and high-frequency communications.
The College of Southern Maryland is such an important partner to the university system of Maryland. And when you hear stories like CJ's, you know exactly why. CJ is special, no doubt, but he's also one of thousands of students who come to the university system from a Maryland community college every year and enrich the system with their experiences, their talent and drive, their determination not only to excel, but to make a real and lasting difference for the people of Maryland. 30% of the university system's undergraduates are transfer students. Many of them come from Maryland's community colleges, and many of them come from the College of Southern Maryland. CSM is vital to us in many ways. It shares its La Plata campus with the University of Maryland Global Campus and serves as one of UMGC's largest transfer partners. That relationship is strengthened by an agreement guaranteeing students seamless transfer from CSM to UMGC, removing the obstacles that can needlessly cost students time and money, and putting a four-year degree in easy reach. CSM also has a special relationship with the USM at Southern Maryland. Through the entry program, CSM students can earn their associate degree in engineering and then transfer with junior status to a bachelor's program in mechanical or electrical engineering at USMSM. And they can get a leg up on their career through internships with our Navy partners, preparing for jobs that are central to our national security and to regional prosperity. CSM is special to the university system because their students are our students. When we talk about connecting with one another across the education continuum, when we talk about creating new and better pathways to degrees, when we talk about partnerships that accelerate social and economic mobility for all, this is what we're talking about.
The College of Southern Maryland also plays a crucial role in supporting the region's workforce development and is a vital partner of the Charles County Military Alliance Council. CSM is committed to addressing the evolving needs of local employers by ensuring that learners of all backgrounds are equipped with the skills, knowledge, and hands-on experience that today's job markets demand. We know that there are many pathways to success in today's workforce. That is why the Charles County Military Alliance Council values CSM's leadership in providing stackable workforce credentials and in offering pre-apprenticeships and internship programs, particularly in high-demand fields such as healthcare, teaching, truck driving, welding, electrical work, HVAC, and construction. By training the next generation of skilled workers to begin their careers at different entry points of skill, CSM maintains a student-first culture while building a robust pipeline of well-trained professionals. One example of the success of this partnership is Deputy Public Works Officer of the Naval Facilities Engineering Command, James Thompson, an alumni of CSM. His career journey exemplifies the possibilities that emerge when organizations like CSM and the Charles County Military Alliance work together to support learners holistically. And now to meet this amazing young man.
My journey at CSM began in 2011. At the time, I was working a minimum wage fast food job and living without stable housing. Education was never a high priority for me growing up. I met my now wife Denise, who was a student at Marymount University and building a foundation for her future. and it motivated me to do something different. One of my mentors introduced me to the idea of pursuing the HVAC trade, so I enrolled at CSM Center for Trades and Energy, where I took a core curriculum class. Soon after, I received my first HVAC certificate. The Department of Defense Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command came to the campus to conduct interviews for their student apprenticeship program. And during the interview, I pulled my heart out. I basically expressed if they gave me an opportunity, I would give them a return on the investment. Soon after, I received a call, and I was offered a job at NAVFAC Washington Naval Support Activity South Potomac, Darwin, as an air conditioning student trainee. The apprenticeship program was a workforce development 4-year program consisting of classroom courses and on-the-job training with mentors, working in the production division at Darwin. By 2017, I earned my master HVAC license and also started my own company. In less than 10 years, I rose from air conditioning student trainee to Deputy Public Works Officer at Naval Support Activity South Potomac, Indian Head, becoming the top civilian at the Public Works Department, where I oversaw 222 team members. Today, I'm the Deputy Public Works Officer with Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command at Navy Yard, Washington, D.C., where I continue to build a future ready trade-based workforce for our nation's military.
CSM's Student First culture prioritizes the needs, well-being, and development of our learners. We take pride in keeping our doors wide open to all learners and are committed to working with our collaborative partners to ensure that our students have the tools and resources they need to succeed, both during their time with us and as they build their futures. Because we understand that by providing access, fostering momentum, and enhancing mobility, we create pathways to success for our students and ultimately for the entire Southern Maryland community. The stories of our students are truly inspiring, and one of those students had experienced homelessness even. And we are so proud of them and our work to support them and all of our students through our pillars of access, momentum, and mobility. Access, again, is where we strive to increase student access by creating more entry points and actively removing barriers for them to come to us. Momentum, when they come to us, we make sure that we put resources and supports and a culture of care around them so that they can get what they need to accomplish their goals. And mobility is where we support them through their progression as lifelong learners, offering educational pathways that transform their lives and enable them and their families to live with sustainable living wages. One of the most exciting reflections, go back one. Uh-oh. Let me go back this way. We're going to operate this thing here. There we go. One of the most exciting reflections of our current success as a college is our continued growth and enrollment at all of our campus locations. It mirrors the broader trend that we're seeing in higher ed across Maryland and our country. Community colleges are perfectly structured to meet the needs of all learners, whether it's in the non-credit pathways like HVAC or in the degree completion pathways like engineering. At the close of fiscal year 2024, CSM had welcomed 14,971 credit and non-credit learners for the academic year, about half and half. This marks an overall 4.5% increase compared to the previous fiscal year. And of those learners, 7,952 were enrolled in credit classes or degree-seeking courses. That was an increase of 4.3% over the year before. And there were 7,304 continuing education students or non-credit or credit-free pathways like HVAC, welding, plumbing, etc. That represented a 4.1% increase over the year before. And of our total enrollment in fiscal year 24, there were 18.7% or 2,800 students from Calvert County. This includes 2,041 credit students, meaning degree seeking, and 801 continuing education students or credential seeking students. This represents for Calvert County an 11.2% increase
in Calvert students from the previous year, 11.2%. So this county had the largest growth out of all 3 counties last year alone. Also significant is that CSM experienced the largest growth in our dual enrollment population. This also occurred, the largest growth here in Calvert County, with a 49.9% increase over the prior year. So you grew your early college and your dual enrollment pipelines. During 2024, CSM had 733 Calvert County students attending either as a dual enrolled student or early college student. If you remember, if they're dual enrolled, they're taking the college courses in the high schools, early college at Prince Frederick campus. So CSM offers more than 300 transfer agreements with more than 70 partnering four-year institutions. On average, in the last 3 cohorts of students, 28.5% of our Calvert County students transferred to a four-year institution, and their top 3 transfer institutions were University of Maryland Global Campus, which is our online presence, University of Maryland College Park, and Towson. I'd like to take a moment for you to meet one of our former Calvert County students, Brianna, who has successfully transferred to the University of Maryland College Park. And she's joining you this morning to share how her experiences at CSM have laid the foundation for her success. Brianna.
Okay, so I think I can speak into this, right?
Yes.
All right. Hello, Calvert Commissioners. I'm truly honored to be here today before you to share my educational journey and how CSM played a pivotal role in guiding me toward higher education success. After graduating Calvert High in 2021, I faced a significant decision, starting my studies at the University of Maryland College Park or enroll at CSM. I ultimately chose CSM because of its affordability, proximity to home, and scholarship opportunities available to students like me. I knew that attending CSM would give me a solid foundation for my education while also allowing me to remain close to my family and work part-time to help pay for my tuition. At CSM, I was determined to find opportunities to gain experience in politics before transferring to UMD to pursue a degree in political science. I joined the Student Government Association and served as vice president, a role that gave me the opportunity to connect with many dedicated students and faculty members. Through SGA, I had the privilege of participating in Student Advocacy Day each year. This event allowed me to engage with state representatives and advocate on behalf of students. This experience allowed me to speak with delegates about the importance of the Promise Scholarship, which had a significant impact on my ability to pay for tuition and textbooks. This scholarship allowed me to balance my academic work while working part-time, and it helped me save for the next phase of my education at UMD. I've witnessed firsthand how the Promise Scholarship expanded from a centralized model to a decentralized one, making it possible for more community college students across Maryland. In addition to my involvement with SGA, I sought further opportunities for leadership development. I enrolled in a leadership course through the Thomas V. Mike Miller Jr. Center for Leadership at CSM. This course included a self-paced modules on leadership and organizational skills, and it concluded with me receiving both a leadership certificate and an additional scholarship to help cover tuition and textbook costs. This experience gave me the valuable tools and a stronger sense of purpose as I worked toward my educational goals. My dedication to political science and public service did not go unnoticed, and I was later offered the opportunity to serve as a government relations intern. In this role, I acted as a liaison between state officials and CSM. I hosted events such as the Student Veterans Lounge Gathering and traveled to Annapolis to express my gratitude for the Promise Scholarship as well. This internship was instrumental in helping me develop a deeper understanding of government relations and set me up to be a strong candidate when applying to transfer to UMD. It also gave me a competitive edge when applying for additional scholarships. Thanks to the experience I gained at CSM, I was able to apply for the Reagan scholarships when transferring to UMD. I was one of only 2 community college students across the entire state of Maryland to be awarded the prestigious Kelly Access Opportunity Grant from the University of Maryland Regans. This scholarship not only helped me financially, but it also gave me recognition for the hard work and dedication I had put into my education. Now I am a senior at the University of Maryland College Park, and I am currently interning with the Maryland General Assembly for Senator Michael A. Jackson. I have also interned at political consulting firms, worked with nonprofits, and conducted research. These opportunities are the result of the mentorship and guidance I received at CSM, as well as the leadership and practical experience I gained there. Each internship has helped me build my resume and refine the skills that will be essential for my future career. After graduating this spring, I plan to pursue my doctoral education in the fall of 2025. At one time, I believed that starting my journey at community college might limit my opportunities. Today, I can confidently say that the opposite is true. CSM opened doors and provided me with a strong foundation to pursue every goal I had set for myself and more. I cannot go without thanking Dr. Yolanda Wilson for being a great leader and reintroducing the traditional 15-week format at CSM to support students retain course material. Thank you.
We are so proud of Brianna. We're so proud of Brianna. And several of you met Brianna, if you remember, at District 27's recent, right?
Yes.
Night alongside her fellow interns and State Senator Michael Jackson. So we couldn't be more proud of you. And also a shout out to Karen Smith Hupp, because I believe you interned with Karen too, right? That helped solidify that experience in government relations. So well done, well done, well done. Okay. So as Brianna reminds us well, degree completion is only the beginning of meeting one's dreams. At the Maryland Higher Education Commission's 2024 Student Success Summit, college presidents, 4-year and 2-year, and campus leadership reviewed data on student success at our Maryland colleges and were invited to provide feedback on the state's draft 2025 completion goals for higher education. So Maryland's goal for the past decade, from 2015 to 2025, was that 55% of all Marylanders ages 25 to 64 would attain a degree by 2025. So I'm proud to share that Maryland has exceeded that goal with 58.4% of Marylanders in that age group attaining a degree during that decade. So we're only one of a few states who actually met and exceeded such a transformative goal. During that summit, we also discussed, where do we go from here? What's the next goal for the next 10 years? And we socialized the idea that it would be 65% of all Marylanders between the ages of 25 to 64 would earn a degree or workforce certification. So that brings our credit-free folk, our team members, around the table by 2035. This aligns, of course, perfectly with community college mission because we offer the workforce credentials that meets the needs of tomorrow's learners. Now that hasn't been finalized, but that was one of the goals that we had discussed. This view of community colleges as the economic engine of our communities also resonates in many stakeholder forums. So at this year's annual Association of Community College Trustees, or ACCT, Legislative Summit, and you'll see there that Trustee Alexander Fry and Trustee Cousins joined me and Brad Phillips from the Maryland Association of Community Colleges and Karen Smith Hupp. We actually did a presentation at that conference. With trustees from all across the country discuss how there's never been a more important time for community college trustees to understand and support their institutions' contributions to science and technology-based economic development, emerging technology sectors, and regional innovation ecosystems. This also includes the imperative for us today that we meet the moment for the newly displaced federal workers who live in Southern Maryland and now find themselves seeking training opportunities, resources such as employment options and dedicated advising and credit for prior learning evaluation if they're in the military, and or wraparound services to assist them. So as our Southern Maryland Community College, CSM, is uniquely positioned to meet this moment by leveraging our core values and strengths, and we'll be announcing specifics on how we plan to support our federal workers in Southern Maryland in the next week. We have a task force that we've developed to help connect them to jobs in our region, help connect them with interviewing skills and resume writing skills and what the opportunities are at our local chambers and different job fairs that we're going to host in partnership with Tri-County and Solo, and what our opportunities are, what the opportunities are in the school systems, so on and so forth. Laptop loaner assistance, tuition payment plans, all of that to help our federal employees. As we dive a bit deeper into these careers and jobs of today and tomorrow, I'd like to reflect on how CSM is working with our workforce partners to move that 21st century needle forward. and how we're going to be aligning our work with the 5 critical employment sectors that will drive Maryland's economy forward. And we've heard from this from Governor Moore and others. So with regard to information technology and cybersecurity, very proud to share that CSM's Cybersecurity Associate Degree program ranks among the best in the U.S., according to Intelligent.com. The college ranked number 10 of 34 top programs in the country with a score of 89.71 out of 100 points. Our cybersecurity program is also designated by the Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency as a center of academic excellence in cyber defense for 2-year programs. Very difficult to get that and keep that designation. And CSM remains committed to offering cutting-edge training in this high-demand field. Earlier this year, we launched 2 new cyber labs, including one at our Prince Frederick campus. And we believe that CSM's new cybersecurity immersive labs, which are state-of-the-art investments in our students and the region's future workforce, will make a positive impact. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Patuxent Partnership for making these labs happen. They found the financial support required to enhance, expand, and upgrade our cyber labs through the Southern Maryland 2030 Workforce Development Initiative. Additionally, we're really excited that Maryland's cybersecurity talent pipeline throughout the state will be providing hands-on cyber range training at all 16 community colleges. So Maryland is the first state to use innovative cyber range technology for workforce development. For comparison, these cyber rangers are virtual environments that simulate real-world cybersecurity threats, similar to simulators for student pilots. So this advanced, immersive, experiential training is unmatched in the industry, and each Maryland community college will have its own cyber training center connected to professionally staffed cyber ranges. Ours is located at the Leonardtown campus. It's already been installed, and we will officially open with the ribbon cutting on May 14th at 1 p.m. I hope you'll be able to join us, okay, at the Leonardtown campus. In today's environment of heightened network security, we also see the critical need for elevating the emphasis on our information technology infrastructure. So this includes strategic planning and development of our information technology, ensuring our network security, and providing the technology support for our cloud-based systems. So within our walls, CSM is moving quickly to prepare for the growing impact of AI. We've heard that at every conference, colleges are preparing for AI. So to that end, we've stood up a multidisciplinary task force that's in the process of developing a roadmap to address 8 components revolving around our policies, operations, and programming that connect to AI. So the topics include that this task force will address ethical use and privacy, professional development, curriculum transformation, inclusive policymaking, funding and resources, AI literacy, cultural considerations, and emerging trends and innovations. So more information to come. We're also leading the way in training the next generation of skilled workers in welding, electrical work, HVAC, and construction at the Center for Trades and Energy Training. And we heard one example of a student who started as an HVAC student many years ago, who's now a leader in our federal government agencies. These fields are essential to the state's transportation infrastructure and economic growth. So we're working closely with partners like Associated Builder and Contractors of Chesapeake, Earlbeck Gases and Technology, Welding Supplies, and the Independent Electrical Contractors. We have created customized training specific to their industry needs with these industry partners. And other companies in the region who send their employees to us for training include A&G Electric, All Season Air Home and HVAC Refrigeration Services, and G.A. Smith Electric. So I'm also very excited to share that in support of the aviation maintenance technology workforce pipeline, this is some more of our HVAC things there, that we are in the process of developing an aviation maintenance technology pathway. So we're in conversations with our military, nonprofit, private contractor aviator experts through a newly established CSM's Aviation Advisory Board. In fact, we're meeting this week again. Our AAS degree in aviation maintenance technology has been approved by our Curriculum and Instruction Committee, our President's Cabinet, our Board of Trustees, and is in MHEC's hands for approval. In September 2024, CSM hired a consultant who's familiar with FAA regulations, and there are quite a few FAA regulations, to assist us in the preparation of this application package. And so our next step is to submit that application package this year. And we're also applying for grant funding to support this program and to establish a laboratory that meets the Airman certification standard that will be located at our Center for Trades and Energy Training location. This will be a 4-year degree path that leads to a baccalaureate degree at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And it also, of course, in partnership with USMSM and our public schools, will start with exposure in the public school system once we get this pathway mapped out. So we're really excited about that. And our military partners have been wonderful and are ready to donate equipment as needed. Another important healthcare sector is healthcare. And so we're proud to share that our nursing and healthcare programs were recently found to be compliant in every category by the Maryland Board of Nursing. That was huge. And the Accreditation Commission for Education and Nursing, or ACEN. Every category we were found to be compliant. So during the exit interview, our evaluators shared their preliminary findings, and one particular point of pride for us was hearing their praise for our community members who spoke so appreciatively of their partnership with CSM, community partners like Calvert Health and MedStar St. Mary's, Charles Regional. We were commended for the intentional work we do together to strengthen our relationships, programs, and services. And some of those community voices belong to the 25 participating employers with whom we are currently partnering to create a future-ready workforce. In the last year, we've placed 27 CSM students, 27 CSM students in workplace learning positions in the fields of accounting, business administration, business management, cybersecurity, computer science, digital media production, mechanical engineering, communications, electrical engineering, and engineering pre-studies. And of course, our commitment to the nursing and medical industry and all healthcare pathways is on display every day at our state-of-the-art Center for Health Sciences. So here are some of our recent collaborations. The development of our Certified Clinical Medical Assistant Apprenticeship with Calvert Internal Medicine Group. The medical practice provides apprenticeships, and CSM provides related technical instruction for the apprentices. And we've just begun preliminary planning to develop a radiation therapy associate degree in partnership with Calvert Health, Charles Regional, and MedStar St. Mary's. Our LightCast data shows us that radiation therapists can make more than $99,000 a year, and nationally averaging $89,000 a year. And our regional need shows that these specialists have a 26% growth in the need in our region because of the number of cancer patients that are in our area. So our other area that was brought up by Commissioner Hart a little bit earlier around education is our commitment to our educational workforce, as well as supporting current private and public school systems as we all rise to meet the Maryland Blueprint requirements. So of course you know that we offer programs like Child Care Provider Letter Recognition, Early Childhood Development Certificates, and a degree in Early Childhood Development. And these programs are designed to meet, of course, the growing need in our pre-K sector. In October, we hosted the College of Southern Maryland Seeds of Success Advancing Early Childhood Conference. That was co-sponsored by the Charles County Charitable Trust and the CSM Foundation for child care providers to have a way to get their professional development requirements or meet those requirements. And we offered all of that for free. We are also actively pursuing opportunities with our educational partners to place our teaching students in the Early Learning Center in La Plata, to stand up a Teacher Academy of Maryland, and to resume our Teach Southern Maryland Conference for middle and high school students interested in careers in education. The other sector that I want to talk about is sustainability. So that's a priority, and CSM is not only at the forefront of preparing individuals for green careers, we're also committed to doing the work to limit our carbon footprint as we continually strive to improve our own environmental performance. So CSM has been home to the Maryland Center for Environmental Training since 1982. And it's there that we provide safety and health training and compliance assistance and training through a variety of practical applications. So Roads to Careers grant funding will provide workforce funding in this sector as we prepare for the environmental impact of the state's anticipated infrastructure growth and to create training programs in the drinking water and wastewater utility sector through hands-on experience at treatment plants across Maryland. And last year, the Tri-County Council of Southern Maryland awarded CSM $490,000 to purchase a 10-rack agricultural system from Karma Verde Fresh for the development of a sustainable food systems workforce development programs, which includes the cost of the system, curriculum development, participant trainings, instructors, and instructional costs. So the Vertical Ag Training Program being offered at our La Plata campus trains students on the operation of a vertical ag system. And that system utilizes water and technology along with devices for renewable energy sources for food production. It's such a fascinating system because it can produce food up to 3 times faster and in 99% less space while using 95% less water than traditional farming methods. So if you haven't seen the lab, please come and check it out. It's really, really neat. And at different points throughout the year, we have basil and cilantro and all of those things that we can also give you while you're on the tour. This, of course, helps those with little to no space to do the traditional farming because you can set up these things even on your balcony in your apartment. You can have some vertical ag racks. And it's a practical solution to the growing concern of food shortages. So according to Rutgers, the vertical agricultural industry is projected to be worth $22.07 billion by 2026 and grow 20 to 28% by 2030. So the bottom line for all of this, my commissioners, is connecting the dots in Southern Maryland to create a future-ready workforce requires us to harness the strengths of our culture and our community through ongoing conversations, deliberate collaborations that rise to meet the needs of our learners, our employees, and our partners. This is how we create a vibrant community, and this is how we create economic and social progress. Let's not forget that a vibrant community also includes supporting the work of our nonprofits. That's a priority for us as well. In fact, I'm excited to announce that CSM's second annual Day of Service is on April 22nd, when over 170 students, faculty, and staff will be giving back to the community that has so richly given to us. We're supporting 29 nonprofits in all 3 counties with volunteer opportunities, and I volunteered in Calvert County last year. I'll be volunteering in Charles this year, and I'll go to St. Mary's next year. So we're excited. I just rotate around. So we're excited about 170 people doing that. And that's members of our Board of Trustees, Foundation Board, community partners, students, faculty, and staff. So with the lens wide open to our rising enrollment numbers and the demands within the state's 5 critical employment sectors, it's never been more important for community colleges to fulfill their mission in developing and training our talent pool. Stories like those you've heard today from Brianna and our students that were in the video and others remind us of the need to scale up and centralize our services around career assessment and advising, work-based learning and apprenticeships, labor market data and trends, and alumni mentorship and engagement. And we plan to do this through our new Center for Career Development and Success that had a soft launch in January. That's going to offer comprehensive services for students to connect to apprenticeships, build their interviewing skills, establish portfolios for better employment opportunities. In fact, in partnership with all 3 chambers of commerce, we're excited to host a business etiquette dinner in just a few weeks for our student leaders, as well as each chamber is going to host a night around our commencement date in the middle of May, where students, our new graduates, can come and meet business and industry partners that represent that county for a meet and greet, and they're able to meet students who may potentially want to work at their businesses. So we're excited about that too, and the chambers are as well. So we're glad about that. I hope your takeaway this morning is that community colleges play a critical role in our future-ready workforce, and that CSM is honored and privileged to do this work with all of you and to serve our students and our community partners. And we thank you, commissioners, for all the support that you've given us over the years, all the many ways that you show up for our community college. And we know that we couldn't do the great work that we do without your support. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we want to congratulate you, first of all, on your achievements here, of your successes that you've had with recruitment and graduations. And so what do you attribute to your growth? Because you've outpaced all your sister campuses.
You know, I would say, one, that I have an amazing team, okay? Because leadership, we know, is a team sport. And I would say that they are out there and really trying to show the refreshed kind of brand of CSM, that we are your partners, we're here to serve your needs, and what can we do to help you meet your goals as we meet our goals. So I think our approach to kind of really collectively and collaboratively and collegially working together, I think makes a huge difference, and I know that my team is energized by the momentum they see at our own institution, which is wonderful. We have had tremendous support from our community partners, okay? All of our elected officials, you guys have been wonderful, wonderful. Whether it's financial support, showing up at events, helping us with different things that we come to you for. We could not be more grateful. We can't do it without the support. And largely, we're receiving support at all levels, right? Our broader Southern Maryland delegation, from the governor's office on down, Secretary Reichs, that are incredibly supportive of our institution. And I firmly believe, too, that the heart and spirit of CSM is to really do all that we can, as much as we can, for the students we serve. So we are looking at our own policies and practices and looking at any types of barriers that we may have put in place inadvertently, or things that we may have very innocently or not intentionally erected that prevents more students from coming to our institution, right? So what can we do to mitigate those barriers, whether they're financial, whether it's a policy we put in place, whether they have to jump through 2 or 3 or 4 hoops to get through the door? What can we look at internally? Because I think true growth is reflection. And what are we doing well, and what do we need to do better, right? And the things that we're doing well, how do we scale? Okay, and how do we reach even more? And I think when I hear from students, because I do popcorn and pretzels with the president, right? So I bring in all different flavored popcorns. They love it. Obey, cookies and cream, you name it. I bring all kinds of popcorn to the table. And I open it up. It's on social media. We put it out in all different ways. And I sit down. It's a safe space. And so I sit down. I have someone from our student services staff taking notes. And I'll just say, and I'll go to every campus and I do this. And I'll say, talk to me. What's going well? What do we need to look at? And we're taking notes all the time. So I get feedback from students who are our customers, right? All the time about what we're doing well and what we're not. So when Brianna mentioned like the 15 weeks and the 7-week courses, right? When I first came on board, I heard tons of feedback around the 7 weeks from both our students, faculty and staff, and our community partners. And so feedback is a gift. I always believe that. And so we need to figure out then, how do we fix this? How do we address this? And one of the solutions was, can you give us a hybrid model? Some 7 weeks, some 15 weeks. Because some people like the 7. And some people prefer the 15, which is what we did. So when we get feedback, I don't sit on the feedback. I lean into the feedback, and I say to my team, let's lean into this and figure out how we can make this better for our students. So I just got through a round of popcorn and pretzels with the president just recently, and welcome and invite the feedback. And so it's fantastic. So I think we look for ways to get better and to grow better. And I think that's really, really important. We're here for all of you, right? And so if we're not doing something well or right, then we want to fix it. And that's important to us. So a mindset of continuous improvement is the mindset that I embrace and develop.
So what do you see as your challenges in the next 12 months?
So, we've got this fabulous growth, which is wonderful, and then we've got limited resources, which is the challenge. I think that's a challenge for all of us, right? We see the growth happening in our communities, we see the growth in the needs, and we've got a finite kind of pocket that we have to work with to meet those needs. Not insurmountable, just have to be a little bit more creative about how you address and how you approach and how you partner with others to have collective impact. I would say that's probably one of the biggest pain points is probably that. And sometimes we get a lot of requests now. A lot of people want to partner with CSM. A lot of people, and so not enough hours in the day. so finding the pace of that and being able to prioritize what you tackle first is important, because I want my team to be able to pace the work as well. So I would say those are probably the challenges. The other piece I probably would add is, when we have kind of a huge number of transitions like we had in our federal workforce, and being able to rise something up quickly to meet that demand, right? So you don't encounter that often. I've worked in North Carolina. We would have factories shut down in small towns. That was the economic driver of that community, and we had to quickly stand something up to meet the needs and retool and retrain and upskill. Thankfully, I have a team that I can pull together about 15 across the institution, representing different areas, and said, we gotta stand something up, and we gotta do something now, right? And so moving quickly when it's called for and necessary is an opportunity for us, and we embrace that opportunity.
We're very, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we talked the last time we were together, and I have a third grandchild in the dual program. He's signed up for summer, and he will be going all of his senior year. He's a student at Northern. But one thing I have noticed when our children were in college, it was definitely geared towards the mindset of parents, of families, was geared towards a 4-year degree, going away to college, and the trades were poo-pooed. And what I'm seeing among our grandchildren is the trades are valued now. The value of community college has risen. And then you have your 4-year degrees. I'm really seeing it broken down into 3 sectors.
I tell you, Commissioner Grasso, that is so spot on. We see the demand for the trades because we know that a 4-year pathway is not every student's pathway. And that's okay, because you can really make a wonderful career and get a certificate or some kind of workforce credential. And we see more and more industries having needs in those areas. They can't wait 4 years, 5 years, 6 years for a workforce. They need it yesterday, right? So they're looking for short-term workforce credential pathways that allow students to re-enter right away. And so we have students leaning into that. One of our counties is busing students, started in January, to our Hughesville campus because we launched some short-term healthcare certificates, medical coding and billing, and pharmaceutical tech. So we're open to, and they started with kind of an early college model, but not every student was successful or wanted to do that, but they want to go to college. So what's the other option? So we're giving and expanding more options. We're looking at adding something like a welding, et cetera, and they're busing to the college campus, get the college experience, but they're getting these short-term workforce credentials. So it's really very advantageous to our economy, because we know that the trades are kind of the backbone of our economy. And it's advantageous to the student because they can walk away at age 21 making $80,000, $90,000 a year as a welder. I mean, that's pretty good at such a young age. So the options are plentiful, and we are presenting as many of those as we can so students and parents can see what's possible and where the opportunities are for their families. So that's really good. So thank you for that. Thank you.
And thank you and your staff. I've always been impressed that you seem to be ahead of the curve and on top of your game, and you have such enthusiasm, as does your staff. So thank all of you.
Thank you so much. We love what we do, and we love where we're doing it. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
What do you do with all the food from your new facility that you grow? What do you do with it?
Well, I tell you, we invited campus students and faculty and staff, and Tri-County Council, because they invested in it, and there was an invitation sent to them to come. So it's not at the lab is probably, if you take this, well, maybe half the size of this room. So it's not a lot of rats.
Okay, I got you.
And we invited them in, and it's in a controlled, air-controlled room with specialized lighting, all of that kind of the environment, and it goes up like this, right? And there's probably maybe 4 or 5 racks that we have going, and it grows in water that's filled with nutrients versus soil. And you have like a little bit of looks like a pod that you put the seeds in down in the water, and you see the roots in the water structure. And so you can do it in like little containers like that size, but the plants are growing up about this big. And so it's amazing. It's amazing to see it. It's amazing to see it. And the hydraulics and all that's amazing to see it.
Very
And
good.
the capacity for that. We're actually going out, Ellen Flowers Fields, who's a VP over that area, and myself, going out to visit another farm this Friday. We're looking at trying to introduce some of these newer techniques to our farming community members to see if they're interested in thinking through some of that. But what they're doing in technology now with farming is quite forward thinking. It's very interesting to see.
Thank you for what you do.
You bet. You're welcome to come and visit anytime.
Sure will.
He'll be there around lunchtime.
Make it so.
So, as Commissioner Grasso said, we want to thank you and your staff for all the great work that you do. We're so blessed to have such a gem right here in Calvert County, and it doesn't happen all on its own. It takes a lot of effort and dedicated staff. And Brianna, we want to wish you the best of luck. Senator Jackson's a great mentor, so we're very fortunate to have him, and I think you'll learn a lot from him and help you in your future. So we want to wish you all the best, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're so proud of the growth in Calvert County. Keep it up. Campus is growing. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a work session, Calvert County Ethics Commission updates to the Calvert County Ethics Ordinance. Good morning.
Hello again, Commissioners. Emily Shreves, Constituent Services Specialist, and joining me today is Mr. John Trass. He is the Vice Chairman of the Calvert County Ethics Commission. This is also my first time coming in front of you as the new staff liaison to the Calvert County Ethics Commission.
Good morning. She's doing a
Good
good job, by the way. She's very helpful to us on the Ethics Commission, so again, I'd like to thank you for your
Appreciate
assistance.
the kind words.
Before we get started on this memo, just briefly, I've been on the Ethics Commission since July and have been the vice chair since October. So I do want to thank you all again for my appointment to the commission, doing my part to help out the citizens of the county where I can.
Yeah, thank you for your
Appreciate it.
service.
Yes. So go ahead and get the ball rolling. I got a memo here. On April 25th, 2024, Governor Westmore signed into law House Bill 834 titled Calvert County Ethics, Conflict of Interest, and Commissioner Expulsion, which was passed by the Maryland General Assembly. This legislation mandates that the Calvert County Ethics Code include provisions requiring the Calvert County Ethics Commission to publicly disclose any recommendations for expulsion of a commissioner. Furthermore, the law stipulates that the Calvert County governing body enact a regulation granting authority to remove a county elected official from office for violations of specific conflict of interest provisions. Discussion. As mandated by this law, the Board of County Commissioners must update the Ethics Code to align with the new legislative requirements. A draft ordinance from the Calvert County Ethics Commission is attached for the board's consideration, which received a favorable preliminary review from the State Ethics Commission during their November 2024 meeting. Fiscal impact, none. Conclusion, the Calvert County Ethics Commission requests that the Board of County Commissioners direct staff to hold a public hearing to adopt the updated ethics ordinance provisions. And I'm open to discussion, questions, and such as you, many things.
No, I have nothing to add, but if you all have any questions for us as we move forward with implementing this law, please feel free.
So can you talk a little bit about the parameters or criteria for removal? Did you get into those discussions?
That discussion, to my knowledge, is set forth in the House Bill 834, and it's all in the ordinance.
I can, so part of the draft ordinance that's in front of you for recommendation of removal, It goes back to the conflicts of interest as outlined in the current Calvert County Ethics Code. Some examples of these in that section include family, having financial interest, financial dealings that do with companies that do business with the county, outside jobs, just things of that nature. That's all outlined in the current Ethics Code. So that is what that stipulation is referring to in the ordinance.
I just heard a little discussion about if you break a law, it could be considered criteria for removal. And I think there was some concern about, you know, if you got a ticket for littering or a speeding ticket, you're violating the law. Is that actually would that be considered criteria for removal? So I think that was just some of the discussion that I'd heard around the.
Yes, there's options, I want to say that's the right word, that talked about the financial amounts you stated as well as voting toward removal. This has been in the works since on or about 2019 when this all began. I won't go into further detail because it's public information, but this has been in the works, and here we are 2025, and now they just passed this bill in 2024. So it's a timely ordeal that's been in the works, and this is just solidifying the everything that's been taking place from this.
And if there are concerns regarding, you know, the parameters of the ordinance, we can certainly go back with the Calvert County Ethics Commission as a whole, not just one member, to address those concerns for the commissioners moving forward.
I think there just is a little concern about interpretation of, I mean, I certainly don't want to, and we don't want to sound like we're opposed to
course.
it.
No, not at all.
I think that the concern is that, you know, someone may interpret the law as being very vague and open to a lot of areas that maybe most would not consider.
I will add, sir, since me being on the board, we have hired outside counsel. So if we do have any further questions, concerns, or stuff that is vague, we do bring it to his attention for interpretation and professional guidance before we make any determination on our decisions.
So, no, I agree. I mean, I read through it and I have the same concern Commissioner Hance saw in there as far as the way it's written. But I can make a motion. I think we can address that with a motion.
Okay. Any other questions or just?
Just one observation is, President Hance, you brought up like a traffic violation. This says violations of specific conflict of interest provisions. To me, that harkens back to a problem we had a few years back on this board, and I thought this was all about conflicts of interest. You're an elected official, you know the rules, you're not supposed to be accepting county contracts.
Yes.
You're not supposed to be enriching yourself. And that says to me that's what this is. Is there an expansion to conflict of interest?
To my knowledge, no. That statement, as you mentioned, ma'am, is a interpretation. It is dependent on a case-by-case basis, depending on the situation. If such situation were to come up where it does fall in that verbiage, we would then take it to appropriate counsel for interpretation and then proceed to a final determination.
The intent of this ordinance is to apply specifically to conflicts of interest provisions. So if there are concerns about things that fall outside of that scope, regarding just general law breaking and things like that, we can certainly work with the Ethics Commission to clear that up and provide specific guidance on the parameters of the ordinance.
Yes, this is a relatively new bill, and, it's going to, once hopefully it gets enacted, it'll be in place, and I'm sure along the way, whoever gets on the commission next may have further questions about this. But again, you just got to go to the right people and use good judgment, I think, all in all.
So, John, we're dealing with the public, a whole community.
Yeah.
So many different things come in front of you that sometimes that you've never had before.
Yeah.
So we may have a business comes up that we have maybe never had in our county code.
Right.
So we may have to add that to the queue. Well, in doing so, sometimes you can vote, sometimes you can't. we catch, I would hope, 99.9% of that. So, you'll hear me say a million times, I don't do anything without talking to council. So say we vote on something, then all of a sudden it comes back and goes, well, that business and this ties here somewhere. And sometimes we have to say, oh, my goodness, we have to re-vote. Whatever is to try to, because, so does the intent come into where, hey, look, these guys were trying to get this right, but it's a brand new situation? Or is it a very cut and dry, like, hey, you should have known that you couldn't have voted on that, maybe a business you've never even heard of before type thing? Or is there a review process to take everything into consideration?
I would say, Commissioner, there's a review process more than it is cut and dry, only because of situations that you may come up with. Any case is not always clear and as much as we want it. And my advice would be to seek the appropriate counsel, make a recommendation to the commission saying, hey, I got this situation coming up. Or we're dealing with what's the best course of action. We do have enough people on the board to vote and make appropriate decisions or actions when it comes to something. We review, as on the Ethics Commission, we review these concerns and dilemmas, if you will. I think I should say ethical dilemmas, where you're presented with something and we got to determine whether or not it violates the ethics code. So again, my advice would be to just simply use good judgment and to seek appropriate counsel.
In this ordinance, it specifically says, to govern the public ethics of local officials relating to conflicts of interest, financial disclosure, and lobbying with respect to Calvert County. I don't see anything in here that takes it a step further.
Commissioner Grasso, is that 41-13 or 5-807A1?
It's at the very top one, let me see, section 12-107.
Okay, on page 132 in the book, it talked about Calvert County Ethics Commission may make a recommendation to expel a county commissioner for violations of any law or regulation enacted under this section 41-13 of this code or 5-807A1 of the general provisions article of the Maryland Annotated Code. So I think that was the concern. That's what we're talking about here in this particular situation. And like I said, I think if I could make a motion, I think we could clarify that with our staff, and we could just make sure moving forward that we are doing the correct thing, and confer with legal staff as well.
Yes, I concur with that decision, and that sounds like a good idea, sir.
Could you read that again, Commissioner?
Sure. It says, append as a new subpart K at section 41-13 of the code, the following. The Calvert County Ethics Commission may make a recommendation to expel a county commissioner for violation of any law or regulation enacted under this section 41-13 of this code or section 5-807A1 of the general provisions article of the Maryland Annotated Code relating to conflicts of interest. Any such recommendation shall be made public.
Okay, thank you.
So my motion would be to move that we ask the county administrator assign appropriate staff to confer with the Ethics Commission on the grounds for taking action in these types of situations.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Everybody understands the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
will
Thank
certainly
you. Thank you.
get something back to you as soon as possible.
And that's, what is the next step? Just
So the next step would be, if that's what was decided, we would, under Mr. Willis's direction, we would confer with the Calvert County Ethics Commission to kind of clarify the discussions that came about today during the meeting. I'll make sure to play this back to them so that way they fully understand kind of the concerns and the dialogue that took place. Hopefully they can issue some kind of formal guidance surrounding it, just so it's clear to all the members sitting here today. Perhaps we could come back to you in another work session, and then we would proceed with a public hearing at your direction.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'd like to ask you, we've heard a lot of backlash because this thing was signed and it's, people are feeling it's been slow moved. I think what Commissioner Ireland suggested, well, the motion he made today, this is the time for us to tighten it up and to make sure we all have clarification. And if you could get back to us as soon as
Yes.
possible, that would
Yep.
be wonderful.
Yep, we will make that happen.
Process-wise, this is the first time we've actually.
Seen it,
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's relatively new, and since it's been passed, I think we all want to get this finalized and
Yeah.
move
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
of course.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Get
absolutely.
it behind us,
Yep.
roll on.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
it-
thank you very
We
much.
will be back very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
So our next work session is the Office of the County Administrator Capital Improvement Plan FY '26 through 2031 debrief follow-up. Won't be as much fun as ethics.
I don't know. I think I'm very exciting. I know you guys are very excited to see me.
You are.
You are very
It's the
excited.
subject now.
And it is officially noon, so good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Danielle Russell, Acting Capital and Grants Management Specialist. This is a follow-up to the debrief from our staff recommended capital improvement plan, specifically following up on breaking down wants, needs, showcasing how things are kind of spread out. So in addition to our presentation, you have some supporting documentation. One of those things is the 6-year spread, 2026 through 2031. Arrows, lots of arrows and lots of color coding to indicate where things have been moved or changed. And then in addition, there's the project justification document, which comes directly from our staff and talks about whether or not it is considered a want, a need, and then the direct justification for that project. This presentation will move section by section through the capital improvement plan. We are focusing on fiscal year 2026 and overall reductions just on these slides. After each one, I will allow you guys to specifically move through projects if there's anything that you want to discuss. I will note that there is no slide for the Department of Planning and Zoning, that there's no project in 2026, and their out-year project is staying the same. There was no changes to that for the flood mitigation plan. And please reference, if you are watching this at home, please reference the supporting documentation in the agenda. First up is education. Minimal changes to the Board of Education's request. This is mostly because of state capital funds, whether or not they were available. So they did move out one project, which was the curtain wall system storefront and skylight replacement for Plum Point Middle. They're going to request state capital funds again next year rather than asking for local. Any questions on Board of Education projects? All right. Public facilities. Public facilities had an overall 8% increase over 6 years. Most of this is just because of moving out. They also adjusted some of their numbers for projects. Specifically, Calvert Marine Museum spread some of their costs over a couple of years. So they have a planning phase and then 2 years of construction, that kind of thing. And then as well, let's see, the Calvert Marine Museum boat shed, there was a reduction in the FY 2026 overall cost. Do you have any specific questions on public facilities projects?
So we reduced that by half.
Yes, sir.
That's
More than half.
53%. Significant.
Anything else on public facilities? Okay. For public safety, there is a less than 1% overall change in the 6-year spread. No change for FY 2026. For this, we mainly, when you look at the volunteer rescue emergency operations, it's just spreading it out so we are not having a huge number in one fiscal year, spread out the cost of things a little bit more. And then the sheriff's office and detention center, we did stagger those dates because they were major construction. So the overall look was that we were pushing things out 2 years. The sheriff's office, we did keep in FY 27. And then the detention center got pushed out 3 years so that it starts after the end of the Calvert County Sheriff's Office facility construction.
So Danielle, I do have a question there.
Yes, sir.
Up there on ambulance 38 and 49 compared to ambulance 19, can you just give us a brief why there's so much difference between the two?
So
from
we do-
six hundred sixty-eight
we do have
thousand to
staff.
471.
But I believe that the comments that were made I believe it might have been the last presentation, was that they have to start from scratch from those. The volunteer departments do take the stretchers and things like that.
So we don't have anything, all right, here comes.
Yes, well.
Mr. Miller now. How are you, sir?
Good morning, how are you, Commissioners?
Good.
Ken Miller, Division Chief Career EMS. Specifically, Commissioner Cox, a reference to your question about the overall cost differences. So in ambulance 38 and ambulance 49, they were the two units that were being transferred from the allotment from the volunteer departments over to the Career EMS side. We're not getting anything with those units except for literally the unit itself and the radios that are in it. So when we end up taking over a unit, which is the first time we're actually doing that with these two situations, and both of those are already up for replacement. So it's kind of, it's really a sad thing that we're getting a unit, but it is still viable for us to utilize until the wheels pretty much fall off of it. That's
Okay.
not the goal, but we have to purchase the additional equipment to include our LifePak cardiac devices, the stretcher devices. In 2026, it's a
Can we
state
use
mandate.
the old stretcher and,
So those units, when they're replacing those, they're taking them out of that unit and putting it into another unit. So we're not getting that.
so we're not paying for new stretchers and?
No, sir.
So what other unit are they putting them in?
So ambulance company 4 is not compliant to anybody else. So any unit that we get from ambulance 4, like right now, for instance, they use a totally different system than every other unit in the county. Those units are compatible with what we currently have. They run a Furno system, which is a complete different system than everybody else, Commissioner. We all have tried to make all of our units uniform. So Stryker is what we go with, and that's what we would have to replace and put into that unit.
So what are they gonna do with that stretcher?
So right now, that stretcher is actually broken, that unit, and that's one of the reasons why they're handing it over, I believe, is because it's doing them no justice. It's sitting there, and they're down one unit right now, completely out of service because they don't have the stretcher to go into it. It is out of service, just to let you know. With Ambulance Company 3, their transfer of that unit is going to end up coming to us. We will get the ambulance itself as well as the stretcher and the load system. However, that stretcher is already outdated. So because it's already transferred from one ambulance to another ambulance, so this is the second ambulance it's been in. So that particular stretcher has an 8-year lifespan and it's already outdated. So if there's any problems with that, we're just going to replace it and be done with it and not have that problem.
Okay. Okay, while you're here, I got one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
The EMS Shift Commander Vehicle ES-27, is that replacing a unit or is that a new unit?
So that would be a new unit. Should in our operational budget, we were allotted to the shift supervisor getting those positions, then we would need that vehicle for them.
Okay.
So while we're talking about the LifePak 35, the number 428, 748, goes from 26 to 29. And that's a lease program. Is that for all of the paid units or is that per unit?
So, yes, sir. Actually, that's for every cardiac device that's located in Calvert County. So in our entire MSOP, we have optional protocols which allow our EMT basic life support ambulances that are staffed by both volunteer and career to have a cardiac device on those units for early recognition of cardiac events that can be transmitted. Right now, the problem is the LifePak 15s that we have are currently, we have about 15 of them that are coming up or already outdated at their 8-year lifespan. We've identified a significant shortage of the replacement cycle that was currently utilized. So the current utilization was 2 LifePaks annually at a cost of about $70,000 apiece. In order to maintain and keep our replacement cycle, we would have to increase that to 4 units apiece. And now they don't make the LifePak 15, so there's been a significant increase in those devices as well. So we're looking at about $85,000 to $89,000 per unit. And it would be continuation of the service contract, getting the annual maintenance done. Looking at the fair market lease, it gave us an option to say we could buy into this lease, replace every single cardiac monitor throughout the entire MSOP at one time. And in that 5 installment plan payment, with the 5th payment being adjusted market value, it would also include the complete maintenance schedule for every LifePak included in that price. So there would not be a need for the LifePak service contract that we were short last year on because we had no funding not enough funding in the contracted services.
Okay, going back to Commissioner Cox's question with the ambulances, it's about $200,000 difference. There's a whole lot more than a stretcher in there.
So one stretcher and the loading unit is actually $92,000.
Okay, that's 100,000. Where's the other 100,000?
And then the cardiac device itself.
Yeah, but we're paying for them up here, right?
So, right, and that's where I say, these numbers were put in because we didn't know if we were gonna be approved for the fair market lease. Just so you're aware, that's why the numbers stayed the same. They weren't
So we
adjusted
could
based
come
off
down
of
to
that.
100 here, because we're buying them up here.
So average right now, commissioners, we're paying about $550,000 for the unit to be delivered to us, and then the additional funding is for us to put the apparatus back in service and make it usable for us.
What are the old PAX 15 worth when we trade them in?
I'm sorry.
What are the old PAX 15 worth?
So
when we
with
trade
the
them
fair
in?
market value lease, they will give us some type of fair market value for them, but because they're not made anymore, I can't give you that estimate right now.
Is that built into this?
No, sir, that is not. So there could be a
So that's-
reduction.
that's a
Yes, sir.
reduction in
Yes, sir.
parts,
And again,
okay.
that was the hard question I could not get from
No,
the
that's
sole source of what's the value of them right now. And they said it depends on the condition we get them in. If there's parts they can use for other units. That's the big problem is after 8 years, they don't make the parts anymore to be able to fix these things. And it's an ongoing problem.
And I guess we wouldn't
It's a
want to keep.
good sales technique.
I agree.
And I guess
So-
you wouldn't want to keep the 15s and the 35s because you got two different.
Yes, sir. So, and I
units.
do have the information for that. So if we end up keeping both of them and use the ones that we currently have throughout the rest of their 8-year lifespan, which is about 50%. The problem of it is now we would have to maintain two different sets of equipment. So it would still be a cost increase. And to me, the continuity of care, so today I'm riding this unit, tomorrow I'm riding that unit, there's just too much liability there for a paramedic to make a mistake. So having the continuity of care and not having to carry two different types of accessory kits for them. And again, just the cardiac defibrillation pads alone are not compliant. So by saying that out loud, right now, they're about $500 for one set. And now the state of Maryland is saying for every cardiac arrest, we have to use two sets.
Wow.
So for every cardiac arrest we run, just in the cardiac defibrillation pads, we have to use 4 pads, which is 2 sets. So every call at minimum costs us $1,000.
Did I understand this correctly? The life packs that you're wanting to lease to own, their life expectancy is only 8 years?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And that's a serviceable life, meaning that after that 8-year, we can no longer get them serviced and/or certified that they will not have a problem. So,
Wow.
And this is a little off subject, but it is connected. Why do you need more shift commanders?
so right now, we're looking at increasing to a total of 8. That's currently in this fiscal budget we're in, 8 more providers. And then there was an additional request for 8 additional providers for another department that was made from the volunteer service. That being said, that would put us at over 17 to 18 employees being supervised by one person throughout the county. And right now, our single supervisor has to run the 32-mile stretch wherever they're needed at. They're not always in the prime location they should be at because it's just a large county and it's thin and small. That being said, having that secondary supervisor would reduce the span of control and allow more adequate resource.
So we're adding a career crew where?
So the request was made, but the additional request was made in May of 2024 after the budget cycle from North Beach Volunteer Fire Department at the request of their current chief, Chief Steve Stanton, to have a second crew put in that station for BLS.
But I thought you just said there were 2 new crews.
So currently in this budget cycle we're currently in right now, we have the public hearing coming up for the additional 8 to staff the second unit full-time at Company 4 with merit employees.
But you've had a crew in there for the past year
So those have been temporaries, that's correct. So
without any supervision.
they've had it, but we're stretching it thin. And again, I go back to the span of control. Obviously, I mean, I don't want to give the same thing I've said before, Commissioners, but I'll reiterate one more time. The span of control for a single supervisor is 3 to 7, with optimal being 5. And right now, currently, we're triple that for one supervisor.
And are we still running a supervisor on every call?
So the supervisors at this present time are not on any run cards. We've requested that to be done. We haven't met any probability of having. We've also requested the addition of a EMS committee for future strategic planning with the volunteers, and we're waiting on feedback from them to put this together because of that exact reason. So right now, the supervisors run high priority, high acuity calls, and it's based on their own personal judgment and/or they back up when there's no medic available. I have data that shows that the supervisors are running a lot of calls that they
They're
aren't
running every
dispatching.
call.
Yeah, so.
Every time I see a medic going down the road, Kenny, there's another medic right behind us.
So
And you're telling me that every call is a high priority call?
So, and if you look at our run CADs and our EMEDS system, and our EMD system, the way that the calls are dispatched is regulated by the call takers getting the information. If they meet anything that requests 2 medics, then they're going to get a second medic. The supervisors are running no med calls. So there's probably, I'd say 60% of our call volume has a dual dispatch medic on it. So.
And they do that in all the other counties?
Yes, sir. High acuity calls. The other thing is if we had run cards where they were specifically assigned to, then we could regulate that a little bit better, but right now we can't. So they are not assigned to any run cards, sir.
Because some ambulances are ALS, right?
That is correct, sir.
And
We
you're
have-
still running medics on those calls?
Yes, sir. So, and we
2
utilize,
medics.
a lot of times we utilize CALs. Obviously, they're going to be the primary that respond. But then as far as supervisory roles, it's really hard for a EMS supervisor to validate and/or set skill sets of their employees if they're not out in the field evaluating.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
I understand.
So they run every call?
I wouldn't say they run every call, but I would say they run a lot of high-priority calls. And there was actually, Commissioner, there was a public comment that was made on a social media site a couple weeks back in reference to that, and one of the supervisors actually reached out to the individual and talked to him, and I think there was actually a feedback from that individual, it was a citizen, that said now that it was clarified, he was, a little bit more abreast of what was going on. So I appreciate that, because that was some positive feedback for that supervisor's role that he was playing that day.
It just seems repetitive to run an ALS unit and chase it with 2 medics.
I don't
So you're putting 3 paramedics on 1 call.
I don't
And then
disagree.
you're complaining you don't have enough to run all the calls.
So when you look at that, you're looking at a dual response system. One of the things that we run is if CALS is available, we don't dictate if they can or cannot run calls with us. So if they're running a call, the supervisor's closer, we don't put CALS in service because we don't have any authority over top of them.
So you don't acknowledge cows?
No, we treat them as a medic. They can FTO our ALS, we FTO their ALS, but when it comes to telling them they can or cannot run calls, we do not have any say in that whatsoever.
So if cows mics up, do you put in service one of your medics?
Yes, absolutely, unless they are closer and it's a high priority call, then we kind of leave it up to CALS. So it should be based, if you look at the response model should be placed by industry standards on location, geographical location. And we don't utilize that model in the county. It would limit a lot of our resource responses, because if you look at an average EMS call that's a high priority, you're looking at probably close to $2.5 million worth of apparatus, not to include the man and women power that's responding in emergency mode, jeopardizing the lives of not only themselves, but the citizens they encounter.
So Kenny, is the supervisor able to make a judgment call? The call goes out, everybody races to the scene. Are they able to go out there and go, okay, I have sufficient staff here, and now go back?
That is correct. And to give you, without going into any type of HIPAA violation, we've had many significant calls in the last 2 weeks that were really, really bad calls. And just the other night, the MS supervisor was on the scene of a call that it's unrealistic for us. It was a bariatric type call, and it was just catastrophic. And just to know the aftermath that supervisor had to work with the volunteer leadership and make a life-changing decision. No standard volunteer and/or paramedic at a low level, just that person wants to make that decision, because you're talking about someone's life. Are we going to cut this house down and get this person out, or are we just going to make the decision to do what we can do in here, and basically if something happens, we can't do anything else for them? And that's a supervisory decision that has to be made.
But the human nature of anybody in this business is, do you want to sit in that room by yourself, or would you rather be out on that call?
Well, I would assume I know my personality, I don't like to sit on the sideline.
So, and I agree with you, Commissioner Hart.
But I learned 10 years ago, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And, you guys have done a really good job over 10 years educating me a lot about this, but I don't run those calls. So I don't, and personally, I don't want to make a life or death decision on somebody. I think everybody in this room's had to dial 911 before, and when you have to make that call, hey, it's you need that calm,
sure,
and controlled person, and that's why I asked. Is it a an assurance to make sure you go out there and everything is in control? And if not, maybe they have to follow it all the way through, but did they have the discrepancy to be able to,
Absolutely.
okay, it's under control?
And any medic can do that. So the primary, what we call PMIC, the primary medic that's assigned to the call, if they don't need the additional resources, they will cancel the secondary resources coming in. But to give you additional feedback on the EMS supervisors that are county employees, as well as some of the volunteer chief officers, there's a significant amount of experience base. So when you have, most of our supervisors are critical care paramedics, which is a higher level of paramedicine. It is one step above what you have on the street. They also have previous experience in interfacility. Most of our ALS medics now are very familiar with utilizing IV pumps, so we can give certain medications through pump systems. We carry those on our units now. We really have advanced, and our jurisdictional medical director really wants to do rapid sequence innovation, which is a very high skill set that's low frequency. So he's not looking at having every paramedic in the county have the ability to do this. He's relying on the supervision of the county EMS system to have that capability. And if that was to come through, then that's another thing where the supervisor would perform those skill sets and then have to transport with that patient because it's above the scope of the standard paramedic.
Well, I remember when we were going through this transition of, from volunteers to paid, and there was a whole lot of talk back and forth, and I went to see a surgeon that's in the emergency room. And I said, talk to me about our guys, men and women out there. And he said, they're outstanding. He said, when I have somebody comes in, I have controlled lighting, all the equipment known to man. But out on that field, out there in the field, they have to make a quick judgment call, and they don't have the lighting, and they have chaos going on, and they don't have all the things. So, I have watched this evolve to all the different equipment, as you're saying there, and it's truly phenomenal. I understand all why they need all the training that they do, but to hear from this person, it's ultimately it ends with them, to have to perform that operation. How much went into place just to give him the opportunity to save the life. So, I used to look at this from a business lens and go, how many hours on a vehicle and this, that, and the other, but not understanding it from that lens. So, I trust you guys in place, and I do understand with Commissioner Hampton, you want to make sure that we're going the right way, and that we're putting the resources where we need to, because it's not
Just can't have
unlimited.
enough resources to run 4 medics on every.
Yeah,
No,
and so
understood completely, sir, and believe me, that's something we watch. But again, that's why I think that if we could come back to the table with our partners and try to get some run card assignments, high acuity type calls. And again, are they going to run calls to be able to evaluate their employees? Absolutely. They have to check their skill set in the actual heat of the moment. But does that necessarily mean they're transporting all the way to the hospital? No, sir.
So Kenny, I got a paid unit on scene. I got 2 chase and a cows coming. Can that unit put them 3 in service?
The unit that's on the scene, yes.
Yes,
If they are not needed, they can
can put
request
all
to go
3.
available. But if
They can put all 3 in
Unit on the
service.
scene can put a supervisor in service.
Yeah, absolutely. Unit on the scene has the right to do that if they say we don't need the supervisor. Now, if the supervisor feels that there's something going on, I'm sure they're going to follow through with that until they get there. So I would say that would be 100%. As far as placing a volunteer unit in service, there is a working agreement that we do not cancel the volunteer service because we don't oversee them and we have no authority on them, so.
So what happens when, I know the other morning we had a call at the Pines, we dispatch our paid unit and we dispatch 6 at the same time.
You're supposed to
So-
stop doing that. Are you still doing that?
So when one mics up, can that one be put in service as soon as he mics up?
Sure, as long as it's not a
So
high
why
acuity call that doesn't call for the 2 ALS resources. Yes, sir.
So I'm going to keep asking the same question. Why are we double dispatching when we have paid crews sitting in station?
So was there a paid crew? You'd have to give me more specifics, Commissioner, on reference to that
It was
call.
the first call of the morning.
So I'd have to look at that and figure out what type of call it was, what it was dispatched for, because again, the acuity of the call could change that.
Commissioners, if I can interject. Crystal Dow, Deputy Director of Public Safety. If it would be your wish, I could get together a work session to review with emergency communication, career EMS, and a representative from the volunteer system to discuss this.
You mean with us?
Yes.
We don't need to be in a work session with them. They need to work this out. It just makes no sense for you that don't understand. We have a paid career crew sitting in a station with an ambulance right beside them. We are double dispatching the paid crew and the volunteer crew to run a call in the paid crew's area. Because we've always double dispatched to make sure you get an ambulance on the street. If there's a career crew sitting in that station, they're gonna get on the street. All we're doing is wasting time and money double dispatching when we have career crews sitting in a station.
Yes, sir. And I can assure you that my crews, when they're dispatched, they respond. That's what I can assure you.
Absolutely. But we're double dispatching and we're dispatching volunteer crews to run the same call. So the career crew mics up, the volunteer crew mics up, and then they get put in service a minute later.
We
We've
will,
been having this discussion for several months now.
Why does that happen?
Because, I don't know, why is that happening?
I will get with Emergency Communications to provide an answer and also work with the Chiefs Council, Career EMS, and Emergency Communications to find a resolution.
See, on the flip side of that though, with Huntingtown not having a paid crew,
That's
if
different.
you dispatch Huntingtown, you have to dispatch.
You do.
Okay,
And the same thing would go with St.
just for
Leonard.
clarity, that's all.
But
when-
we're
when
still
one
double
mics up,
dispatching
then-
where we have career crews.
Correct.
Because we only have volunteers in St. Leonard and Huntingtown,
That's the only two departments that are not
only
covered.
two.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
Chris.
my fear is, we go way back, remember when, we didn't have, ambulances and stuff, and we were running people from all over the place, so, yeah, I don't wanna go back to where we're short of service again, or maybe it's just the growing pains of,
But since we put the other paid crew in Prince Frederick, the call volume for 6 has dropped a lot.
Yes, sir, because they're not running the mutual aid. I will tell you that we can give you that data. I just don't have it with me right in front of me now, but I can provide all
So it
that
is
to the,
being done.
to the commissioners if you would like that.
So I'm gonna go back to span of control. So right now you just have a captain and then a EMS person. There's
So- So currently, right now, sir, I have myself as the division chief. We just completed interviews for an assistant chief to help me on the administrative side. And then we have a lieutenant. That's it. There's no other leadership whatsoever in the career EMS field. That's all we have. We have one lieutenant on duty every day that's running the field, and then we have one lieutenant that works Monday through Thursday, who is our fleet and logistics person, making sure that all the equipment gets restocked, the vending machines get handled, all the apparatus gets to fleet when it's supposed to, as well as working with Mr. Sypa performing in-house minor repairs because he doesn't have the time or staffing to do it.
All right, so is it common protocol for EMS just to go from an EMS person to a lieutenant or captain, or is there
So
usually?
normally in the industry, that's the first step, is lieutenant above the standard street. We've looked at other uniforms as far as how we could maybe model with what we already have in the current system. And it didn't pan out that way because there's a lot of stepping stones. I've actually encouraged in the past that we could create some more opportunities. So like a EMT1 and EMT2 and EMT3, a field supervisor as far as a training officer, and it's just not enough steps.
Well, call them what you want. I was just trying to figure out a way in between there that you could establish a supervisory position without it having to go to a lieutenant or a captain, whether it's a EMS sergeant, whatever the case may be. Just trying to throw it in there rather than have another lieutenant or another captain.
Yeah, well, we could entertain that. Again, it's supervision is supervision. It's a span of control. That's what I'm trying to eliminate right now, is that I have a lack of span of control based off of the geographical length of the county.
That's significant, without a doubt.
So,
But that's all I had.
Thank you.
Any further questions on capital projects for public safety?
Thank you.
We get distracted sometimes.
It's okay. I'm here.
9 more departments to go. Now,
It does include capital projects.
Right.
This is equipment.
Yes. Okay, Public Works Transportation. Public Works in general, Public Works Transportation specifically, they had an overall reduction of 31%. They worked very hard, Director Cosgrove and his staff worked very hard to reduce capital project costs for the 6-year span. For FY 2026, we have a 57% reduction. So that would be for the fiscal year that you are actually appropriating funding for. A number of projects, they went to every other year for funding. They reduced funding as you were going out in the 6-year spread. So if there are any projects specifically in this section that you would like to discuss?
I do have one question on MS4.
Yes, sir.
As we've met our goals, I see JR coming up now. As we met our goals with MS4, JR, do you feel that you need that money's there, or could it be better spent in sidewalk, ADA? As far as we've met the qualifications in the past, and, you know, I still want to do MS4, but I'm just saying, is there any potential cuts there?
So, good afternoon, Director Cosgrove, Public Works. So, as far as the MS4 permit goes, we were issued a permit in 2018 and it expired in the fall of '24. MD is currently working on issuing the new permit in '25. We've been told we should receive it sometime this year, but haven't been given a specific date. And we do not know what that permit is going to require for our goals. I would assume it's not going to get any easier than the past permit. Yes, we did meet our 20% reduction as far as treating additional impervious area, or untreated impervious area within the permitted area, which was the lower half of the county. I would anticipate that area is probably going to grow to include more of the county and probably increase our goals. So it would concern me to cut that too much, knowing that we still have goals we're going to need to meet for this year. So it does give me concern to cut it too much.
Okay, no, thank you.
We did cut it some from what we initially requested in staff. So to cut it much more, I'm afraid it might cut us short of trying to meet our goals for this year. Or the unofficial goals, I should say.
You met the goal, but you still have other projects that need to be done, right?
Correct. We met the mandated goal by MD for our permit.
Right.
But there's still other things we still need to meet. I mean, it's still untreated impervious area in the county, and the point of the MS4 permit is to treat those areas and to improve our water quality. Our water quality. So cutting it, I don't think would be cutting much more, I don't think would be a good idea. That's my personal opinion.
We can always exceed the bar.
Correct.
Well, I'm just looking at these other pieces. We do have road drainage, we have stormwater management that we done added to, so.
So JR, let's go back to paving. There's, 5 million. How much did you cut that? I see it was cut. Do you remember what it was cut from?
We cut it by 5 million. We were requesting 10.
It's 50% roughly?
Yes, sir.
Correct. We operated I think last year on 7, and the previous year was on 5 or 6. So it does put a little behind our routine schedule for 20-year life. But we can work through it. We can manage what we have. We still have roads we need to pave. We still have infrastructure under the roads we need to fix. So worst case, we'll work on fixing the storm drains under the road, fixing guardrails, and then in FY '27, we'll put our request in again.
Because we do have nice roads. I mean, without a doubt. You go to surrounding counties, you hit potholes and everything else, and we're fortunate and we've done a good job keeping up with it. I just don't want to see us get behind the ball there. And as long as you feel confident moving forward that we can do that.
I think we can.
Okay.
Anything else?
Walk away.
Thank you.
Stay close, JR. We have more of your projects coming. Anything else from the commissioners on transportation? Okay. Recreation resources. Overall reduction, most of these projects were moved out, so it was less than 1% overall for the 6-year span, but for FY '26, there was a 45% reduction. So you see that really lovely increase in 2031, but that is because of moving projects out, specifically the HEB project moving out. Percentage increase is, when you go from 0 to another number, it's very big. Any specific questions on recreation resources?
Yes, this is for JR. The parking lot erosion control in Marley Run Recreation Area, is that 1 million gonna do it?
I believe, Director Cosgrove again, I believe we have stuff in the out years for those. That's the start of the project. It's not the complete. It's the first phase.
26 is 1 million, 27 is 1 million. That's the
1 million
current
as well.
spread, yes.
But when you're taking care of erosion, is it smart to phase in?
I would answer that with a yes and no. It depends on the situation. So the situation at Marley Run, what we're looking at doing, and the reason we're phasing it in, we're looking to start at the bottom, working our way up to fix the erosion at the bottom, and then control the flow at the top of the hill. So the second phase will be more controlling at the parking lot itself, but we're looking at the first phase being fixing the erosion behind the ball fields and working our way out as far as bringing the storm drain up the hill and then tying into it at a later with the parking lot. So the second phase is more treating the parking lot more so.
Okay. Because behind that, ball field, boy, that's tremendous erosion.
Yes, ma'am.
It is, so you'll fix that in '26, and then you feel like that's gonna do it because in '27, it's gonna be fixing the parking lot, and the parking lot will not impact what you're doing behind the ball field.
No,
Okay,
it'll
thank
tie
you.
into it more or less.
Thank you.
Anything else in recreation resources? Okay. Technology services. For technology services, we mostly moved projects out. There was the removal of the ServiceNow project. We kept it very, very small for FY26, so everything else is spaced out over the 6-year spread. Any question on technology services? So total capital project fund, just as a reminder, we have our capital project fund, which is directly tied to the general fund. The enterprise fund is separate. We do look at the overall, but looking at total capital project, we had a 29% reduction in FY26 and an overall reduction of 6% across the 6-year spread.
Are we gonna need additional bond authority to do 50.9?
Good
So-
question.
Mary Andes and Bruce Miller, Director and Deputy Director of Budget, are both out today, but they are currently looking at what our bonding authority is, what we have left over. So we can certainly get you that answer as soon as they are back. Okay?
Because we shouldn't go if we don't have to.
Yes, when we ran the debt model, it was within the bounds that are set by the debt model. But that is definitely a finance question.
Commissioners, if I may, Mark Willis, County Administrator. So we have bonding authority that the commissioners have already been to Annapolis for. What we would have to do is when we pull that, we'll pull that by going to the bond raters and getting that rate. Most of what we're doing here is to push stuff out that we already have authority for. So it's not really impact, we don't have to go next week to get additional bonding authority, but we do have to analyze how we're spending those monies. And that's what Danielle's talking about, how we're working on that behind the scenes as well.
Right, because like you say, we pushed a lot of projects out that we probably already had authority for.
Yes, sir.
So,
But there's been a couple big ones, so I don't know how much that's eaten up that those schools are big.
yeah, we might have to shift the purposes, but we probably
So-
got enough.
With respect to the schools, we don't really fool with bonding authority that we have to account for the school system because we already know that we've got a match going with the state on that. Any other project, like for example, the HEB or the fire departments, or any of those, we have that bonding authority. And we may not have gotten all of it because they're all multiple year projects. So we are analyzing that right now. And as you need it going into, say, the fall of next year, you'll probably be going to bond sale at that time to pay for any projects that you
I
have.
just didn't know if you had looked at that while you were doing this.
We ran the debt model, so what we were requesting versus how much we could pay out from the general fund each year. That is what we looked at specifically when we were looking at how much debt was being requested. As for the authority, that I do need to check on what they've been doing in the background on that. Okay, moving on to enterprise fund. Enterprise fund, for specifically sewer, wastewater, and water, they have redone their 10-year outlook. So a lot of these changes were made in their 10-year project as they manage them in the enterprise fund. Lots of projects were pushed out. For sewer and wastewater, there was an overall 58% reduction. And in FY 2026, we have a 54% reduction.
So just refresher, they raised rates last year to build the capital fund for capital projects, correct? And they're, since they're an enterprise fund, they don't affect our budget per se. I guess I just wanted some rationale for why you're pushing out water and sewer projects, because we know they have a lot of need.
Director Cosgrove again for Public Works. So what we did is we do an asset management. We review basically all our assets, our plants, our infrastructure, whatever it might be, whether it's water towers or pipes in the ground. We develop a 10-year plan based on age and the number of reoccurring events we have as far as, failures such as saddles on a water line or, an air relief valve on a sewer line or something like that, to determine when we believe we should be repairing those. So going through the asset management, we've determined that some of them can be pushed out because, yes, they might be built in the 80s, but we don't have many reoccurring events where we have issues where we have to go out and constantly repair them. So some of those we pushed out. Yes, we did increase rates, but a lot of that was to cover operational costs more so than our capital side. It kind of ties in hand to hand, but a lot of that was to handle our operational cost. Both on the water and the sewer side, we pushed projects out. Some of the projects we pushed out further because they were more of a want than a need. There was a project in there for the sewer for biosolids, where we can take our solids and basically turn them into a fertilizer like you see other treatment plants do. Well, that was a costly project. We don't necessarily need that right now, and considering the economy we're in, we figured it'd be beneficial to push that out, and if we can bring it back in or we have funds for it at one day, then it might be a good idea, but right now it doesn't seem, feasible. So it's stuff like that we pushed out. Even some of the ENR upgrades for the Solomons plant. We don't necessarily need to turn that into a, enhanced nitrogen removal system right now. It's functioning, we meet our goals for MDE and the requirements of the permit, so we push that out slightly because we would need that if we need to increase the capacity of the plant, but we're not at the point where we need to increase the capacity of the plant right now. So those are some of the modifications we see, which looks drastic when you see the reduction, but we don't necessarily need them today. We might need them in 5 years, but, not right now. We don't need to worry about that.
I guess I only raise the issue because whenever we have an emergency break, I think what we normally hear is, well, that system's 60 years old, it should have been replaced. So I think that's sort of what's behind my comment, is that
I understand.
we know you all have a lot of need, and because it's an enterprise fund, it's self-sustaining, and so I just wanted to understand why you could do a big push like that, because we definitely know you have needs.
So most of the big pushes are those large projects I was speaking about. As far as the standard maintenance of them, we still have that still within our CIP and in our operating. Some of not so much on the water side, but on the sewer side, was at least the next slide. We still have some of our water systems, such as Cavalier Country, which is an older system, needs replaced. Paris Oaks is out there. Bayside Forest, Chesapeake Heights is on there.
Okay.
So they're working on a replacement schedule now for a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioners, one more thing to add to that. Just if you recall, the federal government worked on reducing some funds available. The state has done the same thing. What they're doing is kind of reorganizing those programs that they're going to work on. What the monies that would come in from the rate increase last time would be able to fill the coffers back up and give ourselves a chance to do some of these projects without having to depend completely on grant money from the state. We still get it. We're still going to ask for it. They still plan to give it to us, but this kind of gives us another option and evens things out for the future.
And as Director Cosgrove made a point to mention, the sewer collection, the recurring costs, we have left those alone. So the moving projects out are those big, the biosolids process was moved out to FY31 rather than being in FY27, things like that.
So Danielle, you have Shores of Calvert and Cavalier Country in yellow. So is that a push out or is that
So that is on the water side.
so that's on the water side of 26?
So Shores of Calvert,
We got one.
they added planning money in FY26, so that was just an adjustment in the amount.
And then we got planning money also for Cavalier.
For Cavalier Country, yes, so it was just
26.
an adjustment
So
in
why
that
did we
amount.
push one out in 27 and one in 28? If we plan Cavalier Country in 26, why aren't we doing that in 27 also?
Mainly just to distribute the projects out, so they're not overlapping, easier to manage. And based on the infrastructure we have there, we felt that we could push one out more so than the other.
Okay. Thank you.
You are.
And then as Director Cosgrove mentioned, they did add Paris Oaks distribution replacement and Lakewood distribution replacement. So those are now falling in that 6-year plan.
Yes.
Falling in 29, 30, and 30 and 31 respectively.
Great.
Okay. And we'll go back to solid waste and recycling. Solid waste and recycling, this was just moving projects. Director Cosgrove does believe that they can accomplish those projects with the enterprise fund if we move them up to FY26, so as they were left in staff recommended budget. So that is an option if you would like to keep those projects. But for right now, we did prioritize the 2 major projects, which is the Barstow Convenience Center and the Plum Point Customer Convenience Center drainage system.
I'm sorry, what year is Barstow in? Convenience?
FY26, so it'd be this fiscal year.
26. And will that do the whole project?
Oh, why are you still all the way to the back?
I said stay close.
Get your steps in.
I'm trying to get my steps in. We have prior year funding for the Barstow Community Center, so that's just to finish.
So this will finish it up.
Correct. We're hoping to finish design up this year.
Million in 26.
The timeline, that'll be finished in fiscal year 26 or?
Yeah, finished in fiscal year 26.
And is that gonna be one of the super duper sites?
It's gonna be like our other 2 major convenience centers, like in Mount Hope and Appeal.
Will it then be open 7 days a week?
I believe Barstow currently is.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
It is, Commissioner, that's one of the
Okay.
3 that's open.
Oh, I thought it was just the 2. Sorry. They're nice sites.
They are.
So JR, real quick, you talked about the ENR. Was that for the Solomons wastewater treatment plant, the ENR upgrade, or was that something separate you were talking about?
For Solomons.
All right, so that's another 2 million that's still marked on here.
So that was, they are asking for FY26, the 2 million. Then they had 27, 28, and 29 funding. They moved that out farther in their 10-year plan. So it's no longer on the 6-year spread, but it is in the out year. So they're requesting 2 million for fiscal year
Okay.
2026. And
Nothing
then a
additional
gap.
beyond that. Okay, got it.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir.
Thanks for clarification.
State still got money for ENR upgrades?
They say they have funding, and we're applying for them. We'll see.
So that is I believe the Maryland Water Financing System. That's the mechanism. So we did submit an application in January of this year for that funding. But that is dependent on the state.
Well, it's funded through the fees, but
I believe, Danielle, you may be talking about the zero interest loans.
Well, the Maryland Water Financing, that's the overall mechanism. It has different categories within that, and the Bay Restoration fees is one of those mechanisms.
thank you.
Any further questions on Enterprise Fund? Okay. Total Enterprise Fund, 6-year spread, as we talked about, they pushed things out, so the overall is 44% FY26, 38% reduction. The total capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2026, 31% reduction. So we went from 89.8 million to 62.1. Overall reduction across the 6 years is 14%. Any further direction from the commissioners?
So the only thing is I would like to know about the bonding authority.
Yes.
Next step is just to start the adoption process.
Yes, so we will be back for the commissioner's recommended budget public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you put into this. It was
Absolutely,
very
you've done a great job.
helpful. Very helpful.
I believe that brings us to public comment.
Thank you, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. Persons are welcome to address the Board of County Commissioners on any matter germane to the business of county government. Those addressing the board shall not be uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to the conduct of the board's business. All speakers must identify themselves, and whether speaking as an individual, you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as the appointed spokesperson of a group, will be allocated 5. Nobody's attending virtually. The Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. Is there anybody in the room?
Morning, Commissioners
Good morning.
and fellow
Afternoon.
attendees. My name is Bob Estes. I'm speaking for myself, and I just want to thank you all for your appointment of Mr. Bury. He's a man of superior intellect, as I'm sure you know, and he's very thorough in his review of things, as you also know. But he's also fair, and he has high moral standards, and I think that he's going to serve the county well. So thank you for appointing him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? And there is no one online.
Well, that brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Hart?
So, Mr. President, this was a interesting week, to say the least. So, if you own a business, you deal with theft. It's just part of it, you know, and as frustrated as you can get, because let's face it, if you own a business, any type business, it's probably been a trying time the last few years, to say the least. So, it's already tough enough. So we had, it happens all the time, you just don't catch it. And we actually caught 2 people in like a couple span of days. So, you know, you get frustrated, you know, and it's easy to lock in. You know, we like to watch the news and we like the bad things, and I hate that. And so during the middle of all that, I got a message from a young lady's mother that, Dow Elementary's 3rd grade class is actually talking about government, specifically local government and then state and to the federal level. 3rd grade class now. And her daughter would like to come and meet me and talk to me about this. 3rd grade now. Young lady's name's Madeline. Phenomenal young lady. In fact, go back, her grandmother I didn't know used to cut my hair when I was a little kid, when I had hair. And so she came up, and this young lady was so smart. She had so many cool questions. She wanted to know, you know, what did we do, why we do what we do, how it works. I mean, the greatest question. So we talked for a long time, and actually got out, you know, I like to draw and illustrate how things work, and she was phenomenal. Well, then she goes back and she talks to her classroom. She tells her teacher. So I get an inbox from her teacher, would I come talk to the class? I go. They had 3 different classes of 3rd graders. Do you know the number one thing these are 3rd graders. They want to, what happens if you don't pay your taxes?
Did you tell them to go to jail?
They were so cool. Well, I mean, hey, they could handle some blunt talk. I said, let me tell you, you know, the U.S. government gets their money. You know, so you're going to
So
pay
does county government.
And yes, and all the way down, you know. And I mean, they kept saying, well, what if this happens and what if that happens? I mean, they were great, you know. And I I've had some really cool questions. Like one time asked me, could we get better toilet paper? I thought that was really funny, you know. And I had to explain to him, it actually takes 3 votes to change toilet paper. You vote on a paper contract. And one of the classmates asked, what would I do if I was president? Now think about that, and they're thinking, and I told them, I said, you know, what I would do is that, you know, in this county, we have had a culture of talking to each other. We always have. You know, we've survived on volunteers, and, you know, before the 4 high schools, just being 2 high schools, we knew everybody because, you know, we all shared the career center, you know. Well, yeah, I wasn't going to go back to the days of oil lamps and horse. Right. Commissioner Eds even knows more than I do with that. And I said, you know, we've lost the communication at the state and federal level where it's become R's and D's and hollering back and forth. And we've experienced the ramifications here of poor communications, and that if I was president, I wouldn't sign anything into law until both guys could actually sit there and have a civil conversation and express their point of views. I said, because on this board here, it's not always a 5-0 vote. And I said, you don't want that. You want different opinions and you want people passionate about their views because we all represent different things and come from different places in life. And they were bought into it all. They were really interested in all that. And, you know, you go from thinking, you know, sometimes you're like, gosh, you know, really, man, you do this and people steal from us. And then you see this young generation and to ask these type of questions. And then later in the week, you know, the Optimist Club is such a cool place. You know, when I was a little kid, you know, we didn't have the transportation that's out here, or, you know, we didn't have, you know, there was no buses and Ubers and this stuff. To get to sports, I can remember John, and you've heard me tell the story a million times, John O'Mara in that blue pickup truck, and we standing on Relsby Hall Road and jump in the back of the truck and go play ball. Well, they had their essay contest, and 47, I don't want to be wrong, 47 kids wrote essays. You know, it's so cool where, you know, it's like I follow a lot of sports, but not everybody does sports. And here the 47 kids did this, and Mr. Madden was there. And the winner, name may sound a little familiar to you guys, Trey Flegel. Name sound familiar? Megan's son. And, you know, they're such a cool family too. And then kind of tying all this together, you know, from the mom bringing the little girl up to the families there. And I don't want to misspeak. I think it was Trey's first time speaking in public, and he read his essay and he did a phenomenal job. In fact, I think all of us are in trouble because I think if he wants our job, he was good. You know, he was really phenomenal how he read that. And to kind of go the ups and downs of like being so frustrated and having to watch a tape and call the police and all this stuff, to seeing these young kids, you know, being so interested in their community, in their local community. And every one of those kids in that class had multiple questions. And then to watch these young folks do this essay contest about optimism. I thought just how weeks tie in, you know, how weird it was. So it was a really cool week. And just we got such great families. I mean, you know, it's mom and dads are there and extended family and all these kids. So it was a very cool week.
Good for you. Commissioner Price.
Okay, on the 19th of March, I attended a fifth grade DARE program graduation at Jesus the Good Shepherd, and it was fabulous. And there was an awful lot of support for the instructor from our sheriff's deputies there. It really made a great impression on the kids and the parents as well. On the 20th, I read to a first grade class at Windy Hill, and at Mount Harmony, I read to 2 first grade classes at Mount Harmony. Also that evening, I attended the Soil Conservation Dinner. The 22nd, attended Tim Manley's funeral, a local business owner and a member of Anne Arundel County Fire Department. And it was really nice to see the support from DC firefighters, Calvert County's firefighters, and so on. That evening, Northern High School had Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, a play, and it was fantastic. They make their money on attendance, and from what I understand, all 4 shows were very well attended. On the 26th, President Hance and I attended a Calvert County Republican Central Committee meeting as commissioners with our input, and that was interesting. And then on the 27th, I attended the adult treatment graduation here in the courthouse, and it's amazing, the stories, and Judge Chanley really has the heart for it, and he's the right person to be dealing with the program, to be talking to these individuals. We all have some type of problem in our life, some type of addiction, and to see these people be able to have a second chance at life, and such encouragement from those in the program and from Judge Chanley as well was really a rewarding experience for me. And that's it.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm sorry. I was okay. sometimes I get my thoughts together. I want to make sure that it was the young lady's name was Madeline who put it all together. I don't know if I forgot to say her name, but she was the one that brought it all there. And I just didn't want to leave anything out, and I had all my thoughts out there. But she was the one who initiated the whole thing. So Madeline, I apologize. I want to make sure, but she was the one who put it all together. So
Very good.
sorry, guys.
Commissioner Pop?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I attended the farm-to-table breakfast they had, and all the proceeds went to the Historic Society. And if you haven't been over there, pick up some of their books that they have and read about the history of Calvert County, and you'll learn a lot. I thought I knew a lot, but reading some of these books, you always learn something else about the Coxes and the Hanses and the Rollins and so forth. So pick up a book and check out Calvert County. Also attended the Soil Conservation Dinner. It was a great tribute to ACLT and Greg Bowen and what he's done for this county. That's all I have, Mr. President.
You won't find anything on the Grassos there, so don't look too hard.
I kept going through the book. I thought I was going to see you in there. I did.
Commissioner Ireland?
So the 20th was soil conservation. Like I said, it was a nice tribute to Greg Bowen. Commissioner Hans threw one out there for him as well. The 21st, I read at Plum Point Elementary for Ag Week. The 22nd was the farm to table breakfast, very well attended. I was talking to Sheriff Cox this morning, and we've all noticed there's more traffic on the roads now than there's been with the increase in the temperature out here. I think driving behaviors are changing. People are driving a whole lot less responsible than they should, to say the least. He's had several pursuits with terrible drivers in the last couple of weeks, so just be careful out there. April 11th, CASA Comedy Evasion, Calvert High School. Tickets are available. You can call CASA at 410-535-3733 or go on to calvertcountymd.gov/CASA. And happy third birthday to my grandson, Reed. That's all I have.
He's so cute.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you. So I read on the 20th also at St. Leonard Elementary to 2 classes. It's always interesting reading, especially when you ask them questions about agriculture, and you get some really smart kids and some other kids that aren't quite in tune. But it's always a pleasure to get to do that. And St. Leonard, I got a tour of the school while I was there. It's a great school. They're doing really good things there. So it's always a pleasure getting out in our schools. In the Soil Conservation Dinner, we recognized Tommy Briscoe, who served as chairman of the Soil Conservation Board for over 25 years. So it's quite a long time to run any organization. I want to thank Tommy for his service to the community and the farm community especially. The only other thing I want to say is session is getting ready to wind down in Annapolis, and we've been a little extra attentive this year because, we've talked briefly about, had some clients interested in putting data centers in Calvert County. No projects yet, but this session has been a little focused, besides the budget, on data centers and power. And it's been some interesting times and some discouraging times, but all of a sudden our nuclear power plant that nobody really wanted to take credit for has become a highlight of the state of Maryland as clean energy. And while it sits here in Calvert County, we certainly don't get control where the power goes, but right here in Calvert County, we're providing a third of the power in the entire state. Just think about that for a minute. They've shut down all the coal power plants, almost all of them, without, replacements. And now all of a sudden we figured out we're in a box. And the ag community is not very happy because on the Eastern Shore, I think I just read there's over 3,000 acres slated for solar farms in the next 5 years. And the ag community in Central Maryland is excited because there's a new transmission line proposed to come through Maryland. Because we're a power deficit state. And in order to get power, when you don't produce it yourself, you need transmission lines to bring it from someplace else. So it's been interesting listening to the discussion as sort of being an outsider, not being affected by a transmission line or having solar fields next to me. But we have to have power. And data centers have come up in the discussion because the transmission line that's running through central Maryland is going to Virginia to supply the data centers in Loudoun County, because apparently there's a surplus of power in Pennsylvania. And we've been paying very close attention to all this legislative issues revolving around energy and data centers. And in my life, in my time I've spent in Annapolis, it's very frustrating because, you know, we all look through our own lens. And a lot of times we don't understand why people don't see it the way we see it. But there are legislators up there that are determined to keep data centers out of the state of Maryland through whatever means possible for whatever reason. Power's become the most useful tool to do that. I just want to remind everybody, and I keep reminding my own legislators who have tired of hearing it, but a data center does not have to be in a particular location. Virginia and Pennsylvania have their arms wide open for data centers. Data centers create tax revenue that would be very productive and useful for Calvert County. And whether a data center goes in Calvert County or in King George County, Virginia, we all draw power from the same grid. Doesn't matter. So I get a little frustrated when I hear in Annapolis, we can't allow these data centers because we don't have power. Well, if they build a data center on the other side of the Potomac River, it's going to draw power from the same grid system we're all on. The only thing we do is lose revenue and jobs. Same power source. Because we're already drawing power from those other areas. If they build it in Pennsylvania, it's going to draw that same power that we need here, and we're going to lose the revenue and the jobs. And for Calvert County, it's substantial for us. As most of you know, we're pretty small. We don't have a lot of opportunity. We've been very blessed to have a nuclear power plant and an LNG facility that have small footprints but provide lots of revenue. And data centers fit into that same category. And the environmental issues of data centers, I think, through some of our discussions, I think we can mitigate. But if the state of Maryland creates all these obstacles, they're not coming here. They've included in the budget a 3% tax on data centers. They can go to Virginia, Pennsylvania, and not pay any. We're already in competition to get them. And we have a personal property tax that a lot of other places don't have. That puts us at a disadvantage, but we've been good partners so far in our discussions, and they have continued to talk to us. But these obstacles are going to push them right out of the state of Maryland. And they're still going to service your phones and your cars and your TVs and your computers, but you're not going to get any revenue out of them. You're not going to get any jobs out of them. So I'm just venting today because session's getting ready to end, and the future of Calvert County is in the balance of the state legislature. And you've heard us talk before how we don't like Annapolis dictating how we run our elections, how we elect our elected officials. It's very frustrating to know that the future of Calvert County is in the hands of those people in Annapolis who have other objectives and don't care about us. So just so you know what we've been going through the last 2 weeks or so, where it's really starting to get fast and furious up there. It's just been a little more stressful this year than normal because I'm being perfectly honest. Without a data center, I don't know how we overcome our near short-term future economics in Calvert County. But we've talked about some light at the end of the tunnel. Annapolis can turn that light off in the next 9 days. So just feeling what I feel. And that's my commissioner report for this week. I would entertain a motion.
Yes, sir. I move that we recess to closed session pursuant to 3-305B1I to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of an appointee, employee, or official over whom the board has jurisdiction. And B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we move into exec session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.